What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick Ash podcast. We are here today for a very special show. We have a very special guest, Elvis Escobar from Enter the Lab. I wanted to have someone on here because as I was watching the show last night that we'll be talking about, I thought of one person in particular for a couple reasons. And like I said to you briefly before we started recording, it was just one of those shows where I needed to voice and just kind of talk about some thoughts and just some reactions and just see where the hell we ended up. And that is why I reached out to you. Well, we reached out to each other, Elvis Escobar. So thank you so much, my friend, for joining us here. Yeah, it's a little bit of like an impromptu live thing. If you have watched me here before, you know I'm still learning all this fun stuff. So appreciate you guys checking us out here. Definitely, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to plug your stuff to get the proper handles and everything. But getting the business out of the way. Appreciate you guys as always for checking out here. If you're gonna pop in live or if you're watching on replay, you can follow the show at @kickashpodcast_ on Twitter. You can follow me personally at ASHMANNS. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, you can subscribe, like all that good stuff, whatever you feel so inclined to do. But gonna throw it over to you, Elvis, so you can, like I said, throw out your handles and get all that good stuff out of the way, and then we can dive right into the show because there is a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah, appreciate being on. I didn't think I would be on again up until major PLEs in WWE, but like I said last
Yeah.
episode we were on, I didn't name this company AEW for a reason, and we'll get into that. Appreciate
Yeah.
the invite. I was watching, and I wouldn't say enjoying football Sunday because my fantasy team did absolute BS today, and also my
Mm.
Giants were a no-show. But I love that I have a friend in you that we're able to have a conversation. Then it just organically happens where you invite me on, and I'll clear my schedule every single time. If you need me, send the bat signal. I'm there for you. But
Yes.
uh, myself and Fort Sama, we have a podcast, Enter the Lab. I've been on several times here on Kick Ass Podcast. We just talk about, whatever it is, whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment, movies, we just have a weekly episode every Monday night. We go live. We haven't had an episode in about 2 or 3 weeks. We've taken a little break. We went for probably 3 straight years without one episode being missed on a week, but things happen, and Ford's schedule's changing, so it's important to I was in New York and he was in LA the last couple of weeks, so it's good to take a healthy break, so we were able to
Yeah.
reset ourselves. Yeah, so that episode will be dropping tomorrow night on YouTube Live. Enter the Lab podcast. Follow it, audio, YouTube, whatever. Enter the Lab, it's behind me here. But yeah, I'm excited always to talk wrestling because I have many opinions about WWE and also AEW. So most of it you won't like if you're pro AEW, but I think I'll try to make as much sense of it as possible with being fair to the actual product being showed to us. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to try to be positive in ways that I want to be or negative just to be negative. What I've been watching, I'm going to try to dissect it accordingly. So that's all I'm going to preemptively
Yes.
say before we get into this review.
Dude, no, I feel you. And I struggled because I struggled, first of all, when I wanted to even sit down and talk about this, if I wanted to wait and see the follow up on Dynamite to see how everything played out. If I wanted to do something last night because I was kind of worked up, not gonna lie, which we'll obviously be getting into. Um, and then I was like, no, I want to sit there. And like I was saying to you before we started recording, I was working during the bulk of the show as it was airing live. But then as I was leaving, I turned it on right as the official main event, Brian Danielson and Perry came on. And then obviously what happened afterwards. So I did get to see that live, and that's what really just had me conflicted, I'll say, to kind of keep it brief right now. And I was like, man, like it was one of those things where I just wanted to kind of just get on and just word vomit, right? And just
Mhm.
say whatever came to mind. But I was like, no, let me go back, watch the entire show. Not that that would really change much, but just get a whole vibe for the show, sit on it for a bit. see how some follow-up was from AEW, from if we got any response from like Swerve or Danielson or anyone on Twitter or anything like that. Not that obviously Danielson is big on Twitter or anything. I would expect him to go to Twitter for that, but I just wanted to see just what the immediate aftermath would be. Like I told you, I listened briefly to one review show about halfway through. So I don't know. I feel like I may be in the minority. So like I said, we'll definitely talk about that. But I
It's
do
good
just
to
want to go
talk it
through.
out when you have some issues to have somebody
Yeah,
else to at least bounce things off. Because I'm a fan of the
right.
show, Kick Ass Podcast. Now that you're doing other things with other networks, big fan of you talking wrestling. But by yourself in this episode or this review, sometimes you need that other person to at least go back and forth with. So I'm glad once you said you wanted to do a review show, I was like, yeah, because I have a lot of opinions and I did watch it right before we started recording. So everything in my head is fresh.
It's fresh. Yeah. So with all that said, we'll get right into it. The show, and then two, as we go through it, I'll kind of get your thoughts on some side content or whatever. But this show obviously was following, not necessarily following up from All In, but a continuation, a little bit of All In. All In was just 2 weeks ago. What do you think about the quick turnaround time for All In to All Out? This year we did get an additional week, I believe. Last year was just a week turnaround time. So they had a slightly, a little bit more window of time to build, but it's still not substantial, you know. And I don't feel bad for them. Like I said on a previous show, you literally create your own schedule, so I don't feel bad for them. I don't care what the holiday is or anything like that. What do you think about the quick turnaround? Do you think they did a better job, or what do you think on the overall build to
Yeah,
this
I
show?
don't like the quick turnaround overall. I don't think that benefits anything. There's not enough story building that you could do because you do so much story building or lack thereof for AEW's standpoint into All In, and it's a big show. It's their WrestleMania. You do all that story building and then in 2 weeks, boom, you have another pay-per-view that you're trying to build again in two episodes of Dynamite, and it's a lot. It's a lot. The build up to All In is a lot, and then the build up right away. I get what they're trying to do, but I don't like the quick turnaround with All In and All Out. And I love the concept of it. I think it could be good, but definitely 4 weeks to breathe is probably better just to digest all of it. Yeah, the quick turnaround, I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, and especially I think too when you come off such a big show that All In is, you know, and the presentation, the look, the feel of it. I just feel like you really should just let that sink in for a bit and just kind of ride that wave as long as you can, and you just don't get as much milking of it in 2 weeks that you can, as if you were to push it out, which I guess isn't maybe that big of a deal because they're still going to get their a decent amount of pay-per-view buys, but storyline wise, I just feel like they
Even
rush it.
with WWE with like Backlash that they used to do within a month of WrestleMania, I thought was a lot. Like
Oh
you have
yeah.
WrestleMania, then you have Backlash, and it's like, holy shit! Like let me chew on that for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, there's usually with the Backlash with WWE, it's like, all right, you're gonna have a rematch, or you're gonna have something else. It's like let it breathe a little bit, let the stories, breathe a little bit. I thought it was rushed, and yeah, at least a couple more weeks more would have been helpful for the greater good of the product.
Yeah, and I think stories you did kind of get away with, like for instance, Swerve and Hangman, they did have a longer term story already built into it, so that wasn't something that was obviously rushed. Definitely not rushed, to say the least with that one. You had Danielson and Perry was kind of just thrown together, and I didn't like the presentation of that. Garcia and MJF was a little bit longer story term or long term booking, I guess you would say for them. But even then, not what was that, like maybe a month or so before All In. So at least I had a couple months, but yeah, I don't know. And I think with them pushing out Grand Slam going into next year and things like that, I think they're going to get a better hone of their schedule. But to me, it's just, you're just kind of like shooting yourself in the foot in a lot of ways too. Like just let it breathe. But
less is more.
yeah, for sure. For sure, man. The first matchup though that we started off with was MJF. Speaking of them, facing off against Daniel Garcia. Nothing on the line here. No title, thankfully. And it is apparently true that the Dynamite Diamond Ring is missing, which is very unfortunate because apparently that thing was mighty expensive. So that sucks. But I don't know. I don't know what it is with like AEW's property going missing. Like Jericho, when Jericho was a champion, he lost the AEW title or he left it at like Outback or Longhorn Steakhouse or some shit. It's just like a curse. Like
Yeah.
shit happens, you know, and I'm sure it happens with WWE and other companies too, but it's just like you always hear about it with AEW. It's just like
Yeah, that's
fuckers
funny.
can't catch a break sometimes. It's just like
What's
God.
going on?
Yeah. It's like
Hilarious.
I don't know, and like but yeah. So this match, speaking of story, I did like that they focused on the story of this match being the focal point of the neck, right? And then Garcia, and it kind of played into and carried off of Will Ospreay hitting the Tiger Driver 91. So MJF was already sore going into it, and then Garcia's focus was damaging the neck even further. So that played together nicely. So kudos to them for that. Um, I laughed or I giggled when Garcia came out with the headband around and like wrapped around his head and then covering his eye. Like I get it, but it was just the visual for me. Just kind of caught me off guard. But this match was fine. You know, it was kind of what I was expecting. I kind of thought that Garcia would go over here. I thought that it would be an easier story to tell. But I understand why you want MJF to win and not really surprised there. The handshake, though, I saw some people on Twitter saying that how could Garcia be so naive to like buy into the handshake or whatever. And I don't get that, you know, like we'll shit on AEW and some decision making here in a few, and this isn't one of them for me.
For sure.
To me, it was kind of obvious that Garcia was going like he knew what MJF was doing. He was going along with it, and that's why he knew to expect the kick and gave MJF the low blow. And again, not that I wanted another low blow because I'm so tired of the low blow. Like it's just it kills you, man. I just for so many reasons.
I literally have that in my notes for this match.
I hate it. I'm so over it. It's just one of those things. But yeah, man. So I liked this match though. It was fine. I like MJF opening the card. I think he is one of those guys where if he's not closing it, you want him towards the opener because he just gets the people going. But yeah, man, what are your overall thoughts on this? And I saw somewhere that it's still not confirmed that Garcia has signed a new contract with AEW, so that may be part of the thing as well. To me, that's I guess obviously it would play into it, but it's neither here nor there for me storyline wise. So yeah, what did you think of the match? And where do you think, and if Garcia is staying, where do you think they go with him from there? And I did hear also that MJF is injured and that he came back a little early and he kind of rushed some recovery time, so he may be taking some time off, which I think is good because I think AEW is getting a little crowded, and I think right now it would be good to sort things out and then have MJF come back maybe in a month or two.
Yeah, to think? That point where it's like MJF with the numbers being so low as far as viewership, you know, we could talk about that for probably an hour. The viewership is down, and MJF is a draw no matter what he does, whether it's promo or matches. And overall with the storyline, good storyline as far as you know, him putting himself in the All In, coming back with the you know, hoodie or whatever and disguised, and then putting himself in that match in All In with MJF. And then I love the promo. I will say when MJF on Dynamite said, look at that, Daniel Garcia, learn how to speak. At that, because during that promo, I was like, wow, this is Daniel Garcia's best promo I've ever heard. Like, not getting flux on like his words. He was speaking emotionally, but also the thing about AEW, their promos sometimes when they're so emotional, they tend to go too much and too long, where it's like, all right, I get it. You could have said so much in so little words. But I thought Daniel Garcia did a great promo, leaning against a turnbuckle, talking to him directly. I thought he did a really good job leading
and
up to
that mic toss, bro. Whew, he nearly just nailed him in the head. Beautiful, beautiful aim, beautiful aim.
Yeah, I was entertained, and you know, it's rare that when I watch a Dynamite, I'm like locked into a promo for AEW. So kudos to them for doing that. And The match itself, I thought, Daniel Garcia, in my opinion, is not somebody that is a draw. MJF is put constantly in a position to put guys over, which I get. Like MJF versus anyone, a broomstick, as Ric Flair would say. It's like, yeah, it's going to be a draw. People are going to view it. I don't think Daniel Garcia has it all to be in that spotlight with an MJF. And a lot of it is just emotion. They try to bring it personal. And I get that. I like that personal dynamic. We're seeing it now with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. I love the personal aspect of promos and to get involved. But I don't think he's on that level yet. I thought they should build Daniel Garcia into that a little bit more leading up to an MJF match. But some of the notes I have here is it's funny. The first one is, why is MJF fighting somebody like Garcia? Question mark. Blood right away. One of the other things that I thought of the match itself with I saw the entrance with Daniel Garcia and Daddy Magic, is it?
Yeah. Matt Menard,
he was on the
He
call.
was on commentary for that, yeah.
Let me ask you, because maybe you dive into it a little bit more than I do. Why was he on the call? Is there any explanation on that, or what?
Yeah, him and Danny Garcia have been tight for a while. Like they ran together. God, what was the
This seems random,
like Appreciation Society. So yeah, they've been tight and they've been boys for a while. And Menard, he has been doing commentary. I want to say either on Rampage or Collision. I don't watch them because
he's not bad. He's good on commentary. No. I'm just saying,
no.
I was confused when I heard him. I'm like, what's his?
Why. Just with their relationship.
Why is he involved? Yeah, I get. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I get why he was literally on it, but storyline, because how we watch wrestling, all of us, is what everything's got to make sense. Who, what, why, when, and it was kind of random in my opinion. But one of the things that happened in the match was the multiple small cradles. I'm tired of multiple small cradle 1, 2, 1, 2. It's like I feel like I see it once a week in AEW, and it's getting tired. And it's just the same moves are being used over and over again. And there's actually a couple notes that I have from each match that they all do that. The low blow, like you mentioned before, with the referee turning around, looking away, that's been used literally every week in Mercedes Moné's matches. It happens every single pay-per-view, every single week. It's just like the ref just looks away and it gives 10 seconds and it's like, wait, what just happened? It's overused. Let's see. And then to end the with that 1, 2, 3, it was an odd on the commentary to end the match where they did the small package from by the ropes, and then the referee started counting 1 and then slid in 2, 3. The commentary said 1, 2, and it was already a 3 count by the time they got the 2. So they were off. They were kind of thrown off by that. Overall, not a bad match. This was out of every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches. This is probably one of the best ones as far as actual wrestling, actual pro wrestling. I was entertained, but I don't think that Daniel Garcia, in my opinion, doesn't qualify to be facing an opponent like MJF without having quality matches over a span of years. So I could be wrong, but MJF is just so big of a draw where he should be every match, every pay-per-view MJF should be having should mean something. He
should still be on the rise. He should still be built. Like in a lot of ways, they are treating him as the guy and the star and this attraction figure, like a Roman Reigns, for instance. And yes, he is a star and he is their guy, but he's not made yet, in my opinion. Like, he is still building, and
Yep.
that's not to say he's not head and shoulders above a lot of other wrestlers in WWE, AEW, New Japan, regardless. Like, yeah, he's, if you were to make a top 5 even of the wrestlers, of the biggest wrestlers right now, and the wrestlers who had the most potential, he would definitely be in that top 5, maybe even top 3. So it's not saying he's not, but I think, and I said it, I don't know if it was either here or over at Brashing Media, but I think that he should have been. I think someone had mentioned it in a comment. They had the top guy brought up that he needs to wrestle more, and I couldn't agree more. I think that he, while yes, he should be protected, he should be, like, you were, everything that you just said, he should be wrestling more though. He should be on TV more. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you want to treat him as a star, but The Rock was on TV almost every week. Stone Cold was on TV. That's why you tuned into Raw. You know, they didn't get oversaturated or anything like that. That added to their star power. So I think that while, yes, like, maybe you don't need MJF wrestling as much as a Swerve, or yeah, Swerve did, or an Osprey does, or anyone like that, or a Kyle Fletcher or anything like that. But yeah, you want him wrestling, I would say at least twice a month or once a month, type thing, and have it mean something, not just some squash match, or have
Exactly.
it play into it. And yes, maybe not specifically once a month, but have it make sense, and not just try to avoid it, and try to make it a
Yeah.
point where he's just, you're kind of glamorizing that fact. Like, to me, like, you get to Roman Reigns' level because you put in the time and the work and everything like that. So I don't know. For me, it's just kind of been one of those things for me. And in a lot of ways, I don't blame him though. Like, if I was him, I'd say screw it, man. You want me to work less essentially and get paid a shit ton more? Hell yeah, because he's saving his body. So what he's doing is smart, and so I don't discredit him at all for it. But maybe it's just me being selfish. Like, I'd like to see him just interact more, and like you were saying, not. I appreciate what he was doing with Garcia, but it just didn't work because Garcia, prior to interacting with MJF, wasn't being taken that seriously. So I feel like if he was in a different light before he got to MJF, maybe it would have had a different outcome. And I think Sean had mentioned it at one point. And
Shout out
Sean,
Sean. Sean's
yeah,
bringing up great points right now in the chat.
Sean's in
So
there.
please
Shout out
continue
Sean.
to comment as we
Yeah,
go.
but he had said too that he doesn't think he's a main event guy, he being Garcia, and that they really hurt him early on in his run. And they did. There was that moment where he had the opportunity to turn on the JAS and join up with Danielson and join the Blackpool Combat Club and just really embrace it was when Jericho was going the whole sports entertainer route, and they were
Yep.
in BCC was like all pro wrestling. Like, it was when,
Yeah.
before Vince left and all that stuff.
And
But
he did drop the whole dancing thing, which in this
yeah.
serious role, I like that they did drop that whole dancing, and it was over as far as a thing. But like, you got to know, just because it's over with the crowd doesn't mean it's should be continued. So I like that they kind of dropped that whole dancing thing and made it more serious
Yeah.
about fighting. I like that.
Yeah, but they had that opportunity to strike when the iron was hot for him, and they didn't, and I think that really did hurt him in the long scheme, especially looking back too. We got Din Gualten. Sorry, I'm shit at pronouncing names. So what's up, Din? I'll call you Din if that's okay. They
Then
say I think WWE knows that AEW needs a guy like Garcia, so it wouldn't surprise me if they offered him a deal that Tony has to match, but WWE knows will hurt them financially in the long run.
exactly.
Yeah.
Then that is, you just took the words out of my mouth to the end of the statement, where I think somebody like Danny Garcia is not a fit for WWE, or he would be a fit for NXT, but they are involved in talks just to raise, just like any sport, football, basketball, you get involved in conversations just because you're talking to a guy and you're negotiating. I think that WWE knows that Tony Khan will offer more money, whether right or wrong, and they're driving up prices. And that's what any good competition or other business does. So good point by Den for bringing that up, where it's like, I don't personally think that he's a good fit for Raw or SmackDown. Could be for NXT, where they could definitely make him into
100% NXT.
right.
Yeah.
But it's like
100%.
they also are in these negotiations to make sure that why not make AEW pay these guys a little bit more and be handcuffed by those financial decisions? So good point on that. I was going to make that.
Acts.
So well said.
Yeah. No, it's a very good point. But I think too, I don't think though, I think that 100% like you said, but I don't think the management and the mindset in WWE now is just to buy up talent and then have them do nothing and just have them sit to the sidelines. I think that they would do exactly what you guys were saying there. Make them and make Danny an offer that they might not have made prior, right? Just to throw that creative number out there and be like, oh yeah, offer him 250,000. Let's say I have no idea what he's making. So
Yeah.
let's say they offer him that, and AEW is like, no, we'll offer you 350,000. Garcia's like, okay, yeah, that extra 100K would actually really make a big difference. Da da da. Like I'm doing here, I can still be on the Indies. I'll stay here because he's still young too. So you can't forget, like even if AEW gets him for another 3, even 5 years, by the time he's out of AEW, he'll be what, maybe approaching 30. So he will still be maybe hitting the prime, not even hitting the prime of his career. And then maybe it would be a better opportunity and maybe maturity wise and just where you're at in life, the older you get, your head is in a different place, right? So maybe at that point it'd be better for him to go into NXT system. But whether that's 3-5 years from now or now, I think Garcia would be a really good fit in NXT. And I think if not for nothing, you would need him. I think you would need someone like him to go through NXT to get the WWE vibe for production, a better understanding of where the cameras are, what your cues are, not to make it obvious that you're waiting for your cue, stuff like
And
that.
that's
Just
all
the
that
little things
matters
that
in
you
pro
need to
wrestling.
learn.
Like people, yeah, like yes, we all love pro wrestling and it's in the ring, but there's so many things that have to do without the actual physical work that build up to a match or are within the match. I love the comments right now. Rewind 8-9 with Taz. Like I love Taz. I was raised on with Taz. I'm from New York. He's from New York. Just to hear him going back and forth with Tony is great. The little back and forth they do. They call each other out. I don't even know if
I
it's
love
real
when
or not.
Taz gets pissed off.
Is it?
I love when he
Do you
gets
think it's
pissed
a
off.
work or
I
a
don't.
shoot?
I don't
What
know.
do you
I
think?
don't, and part of me doesn't even care. I think it's real sometimes. I think you can hear when he gets annoyed, and he just like when he
Yeah.
says like the little snark comments when he's like, "Oh, well, that's what I said earlier. I'm the professional here. Like, don't
And then
worry,
they
I
were
got
like,
you,
go
Tony."
ahead,
Like,
talk. Go ahead.
yeah,
It's like
He's like, "Oh, that's
they're
what I was
really
trying to
mad at each
say."
other.
Yeah. He
It's
gets
no
so.
Taz.
It,
I love
oh,
Taz. He's a
yeah.
real dude. I mean, his resume speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the realest.
One of the smartest
Not only
hires, I think.
yes, I love listening to Taz, and he's he's great.
For sure.
So
This one cracked
wrapping
me
up
up though,
MJF. No, I
really
love the
quick.
comments. The
Yeah.
comments are flowing in. I love it.
Miss Brianna Cox. Tony Khan is trash. Oh, we'll get into that later. There.
Yeah, of course. So yeah,
She,
just to wrap up, MJF,
yeah,
Danny
to wrap up
Garcia.
MJF.
I thought at the end with the pile driver from the turnbuckle, that was pretty vicious. Which you said, I
Jeez,
think
yeah.
that will put a little bit. Maybe MJF is out, maybe a few weeks or a month. Let it breathe. Then he comes back against somebody else. Hopefully, he doesn't come back and continues this story. I don't think this story should be longer than it is. Knowing AEW, he'll probably come back and ruin a Danny Garcia championship match. I could probably see that happening in a month or two, where it's like MJF shows up and interrupts a big match that Danny Garcia has. I don't think that should happen. It's probably going to happen thanks to this, because MJF is not going to forget about putting him out on the stretcher, basically,
Not at all. Not at all. But yes, moving on, we had one of the, just gonna be blatantly honest, the most underwhelming tag matches I think we've had in AEW. It was literally thrown on at the last minute. We had your EVPs, the tag team champions, the Young Bucks, facing off against the Blackpool Combat Club, which is Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta.
Sorry, I have a note, and I'll let you go. I have a note.
No, I'm not.
Gonna,
I'm gonna throw it to you here in a second. Then he came in. Claudio launched Yuta off of the top. Matthew got his knees up and cradled Yuta. And this was the just most absurd thing. I think this pissed me off early on. So Matt had got his knees up and was cradling Yuta to get the 3 count, and Nicholas Jackson was just holding Claudio just holding his legs over near the corner of the turnbuckle area, preventing him to get in and make the save. The match itself was fine. It was a good match. It's what you would expect from these two teams. I hated the finish. Claudio is a physical specimen. This dude is a living statue. And you mean to tell me he can't pull his legs away from Nicholas Jackson? Like what? Like
Nicholas, I like that.
yes,
Not Nick.
bro, like get the fuck out of here, man. Like come on. Like the cradling is one thing, like that's fine. Like I don't even cradling the schoolboy and stuff like that. It's annoying depending on how many times you hit it and it go for it and things like that. But I think it could really play into a finish and really make it make sense. And this one had an opportunity to, but just the combination of that and then just the absurdity of Claudio just trying to crawl his way in and not being able to because of Nicholas Jackson. It was just the most absurd thing to me. I didn't like it. I thought it was a cheap excuse or a cheap way to end the match. And yeah, I don't know, maybe, and that's why I was like, let me sit on it this whole pay-per-view as a in totality, I
As a
guess,
whole,
because
yeah.
I just don't feel like I was like, maybe I'm just being too salty with it right now. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't like this match. It was just there.
I
But
thought so too. My first note, and I have notes
yeah.
just to prove it. I'm
Yeah.
not making things up. Every match that I just rewatch, I have notes because I want to be prepared. I want to be a journalist. But the first note that I have of this match is Wheeler and Claudio have as much personality as a wet napkin. And it's been true for weeks or months, and people know that. Like, it just, they have no. Claudio is a specimen of a human being. So let me start off by also saying, physically, athlete wise, when he left WWE, I thought it was lost, and I thought there was opportunity for Claudio to do more things in WWE. But man, he is just not good in promo wise. And then Wheeler is just, I don't understand why anyone would like him as a wrestler or be. I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little rough. I don't understand why anyone would support what he does, because individually they don't do anything. Together they do less. And then the BBC, it's like, is Brian Danielson in the group? Is
Well, I think we know that
Moxley in the
now.
group? Are they good guys? Are they bad guys? Are they together? I don't understand this. And that's been my problem with AEW since I've been watching because of you for the last 3 years, is I'm trying to understand why groups are together. And I don't, I
I
can't
remember you
make
saying
sense of
that
it.
early on.
Ashley, when we first met, which was 3 years ago, we met at an AEW show. I started watching, I think it was June of 2021. And I was watching it. And I think one of the first questions I had for you was like, why are they putting these guys together? Like, why are these groups called a name, the conglomerate, the this? All of a sudden you're a tag team, so you have to have a name together. I don't understand it. But this BBC has been for 3 years or 2 years, has been absolutely all over the place. I don't understand it. So Claudio, great athlete. Wheeler, I get what he could do in the ring. They just don't have the personality. They don't. I don't. They're facing the EVPs, and I hate the EVPs because nothing is more or less intimidating than those two human beings walking down the ramp. There's nothing intimidating about them. Now, this is the point where if you're watching and viewing and commenting, if I'm wrong, please tell me and we'll put it up. We'll have you on the pod, please.
For sure.
But these two humans, Matthew and Nicholas, walking down a ramp is the opposite of being intimidating, the antithesis of fear, of like, there's nothing. Obviously, their position is something where their vice president, executive vice presidents. If you take away EVP from their name, they're literally like, they might as well wrestle me and you in a tag, and we might even beat them when it comes down to real physical combat. They're not intimidating. They don't have an aura, and nowadays on social media, it's a lot about aura in sports. They don't exude anything that when I look, if I was on, if AEW was on mute and the Young Bucks come down, I think it's a joke. I think it's like, oh, these guys are playing wrestler. They're not actual wrestlers. So you got wet napkins against cosplay wrestlers. I'm not interested. Sorry. And then the ending, and then hold on, I'm gonna end it. The ending, like you said, was poor.
Oh yeah, trash.
It was a trash finish. I don't think it was anything. When it ended, I go, wait, that's how they're ending that match? Like, what's going on? So I digress. If I'm wrong, please tell me in the chat. I would love to hear it and we'll talk about it. But please let these EVPs not have a title. Let them be behind the scenes. Have them like take time off. Take 2-3 months off. Go away.
I don't even, but that's the problem. They were gone for a while. Like they're not even on TV that much to begin with, and they haven't been. And yes, they came back for the whole supposed AEW takeover angle shit, which just infuriates me just thinking back on it. I'm gonna try to not bring it up, but it was just the stupidest thing. The blood and guts match just made absolutely no sense. The ending made absolutely no sense. So I don't even know if it's a situation if they're off of TV, if they're gone for a while and they come back, things will be different because it's like, what are you gonna do differently then? I'm just gonna. I think we have Taz's biggest fan in the chat. Rewind 89.
Yeah, we do.
So I love that. Yeah, Joseph Richie. I hope it Richie. I think it's Richie. It says hi to myself and you, Elvis. So what's up, Joseph? I'm doing well. Hope you're doing great, Elvis. Hope you're doing
Sunday. Happy Sunday.
Yes, happy Sunday, Joseph. Hope you're doing well, my friend. And then fearfully confident. I threw this up here when you were speaking, Elvis. They say the tag division is dead. Get rid of the trios titles and it'll revive the tag division. Names, well, we can't all be the pure fusion collective. Yeah.
Thank you, Fearful. Thank you, fearfully confident. Thank you. I agree.
Yeah, and then Sean agrees the trios titles never needed them there, and they didn't.
Yeah, why? You have other companies with ROH, and then you have the Japanese titles coming in. Why create more titles within your company? I get it. It's belts. It like matches mean something more when a belt is involved, but less is more. And they're just doing more is more every single time. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
trying to digress here. You got me going. You want to be on this episode?
Yeah.
You got me on this episode.
This is going to be a good one, yeah. Rewind 89 says, yeah, fuck them. You meant suplex, but suplex. I like it. A wet napkin, but Taz can. That's why you need him in your corner, Elvis.
There you go.
So,
shout out fun. Brooklyn, Taz.
Yeah. It's fun. And then Fearfully Confident also says, can't complain about number of defenses when Balor and McNuggets have 0 defenses. No, and again, so I don't even know what the stat was. They had, was it like 4 title defenses, I think, in their title reign or whatever. And I'm not saying it's right on either side, and I think it's a problem, actually. And it just because one company does it doesn't mean that it's okay to do it or not do it in a different company. I think it's frustrating for me as a fan because it's like now we went from a situation where wrestlers are working way too much and on the road way too much, where it's almost like now, like, I'm not going to say they're not working enough because I would never say that, right? Because I can't even imagine the grind, the struggle, the sacrifice, and the traveling and all that. However, when you're EVPs and you're a champion, I feel like you should be there, like, I don't know. Yes, Roman Reigns is a prime example, Brock Lesnar, all that stuff, but I don't know, man. To me, it just never really set well with me in just the new direction. Again, they've put in their time. They've paid their dues. Not saying they haven't earn the check that they're getting and get their bag. And if I was them, I would get as much coins as I can from Tony Khan and work as little as possible as well. Fuck it, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying I fault them for it, but it's like, damn, like don't be the tag team champions then. Like don't
Yeah.
like help behind the scenes, you know, like zoom in, you know, if you don't want to
Yeah.
travel, like zoom in and help like give feedback or whatever, like email shit in, like I don't know, like whatever you
I'm
gotta
dying
do,
at the
but like
McNuggets. I'm dying at the. I know
yeah.
we just passed it, but that McNuggets comment is so good.
Yeah.
I love that. That is such a good point with the McNuggets.
I wish I
Oh,
could pivot
thank
up
you.
here, yeah.
You made my day after suffering as a Giants fan and my fantasy team doing this podcast. Keep commenting, keep
Yeah, that's
whatever
great.
it is, because I love this. This is making the episode so good. And I'm glad we're
McNuggets.
going live for the
Facts,
first
yeah,
time with
almost
me and
did
you. This is a
it,
great
yeah.
experience. So thank you guys for
Yeah.
interacting with us for sure.
Yeah, I knew we would. Once I said the name, it would say his name and he appears, right? But it's not Joe Henry. Joe Brianna.
I love Joe Hen, dude.
Me too. Bro. Me
Love
too.
him.
It's great.
He's so over.
Yeah. Joseph says when AEW was created, it was a great thing. Slowly, luster of AEW is gone. Slowly the luster of AEW is gone. AEW's booking almost non-existent. I was a major AEW fan, and now it's difficult to defend it. The inmates are running the asylum. My goodness, Joseph, you're speaking the truth, man. I'm gonna kind of get back to your comment later as well, because that kind of ties into
Thank you,
what I was
Joseph.
saying. But yeah, so we'll kind of continue to move along here because,
Yep.
as you guys
Go ahead.
know, if you watch me in the past, I can talk all night, especially with you and commenting.
Hey, we've had 3-hour episodes before, so when we link up, tell us to stop.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's one of those things. Next, though, I think we had what, in my opinion, may not be too far fetched. I guess depending on what your style is. My match of the night was Ospreay versus Pac for AEW.
Read that right there.
Good match.
That's all the note. That's all the notes I have.
That's all you needed. Good match.
It's not all negative for me. I have good notes. I just wrote good match. Boom.
Yeah. And it was for the international championship. To me, this was not even a question of who's gonna win. It's just one of those, just sit back and enjoy it. And again, I feel like a hypocrite, but it's one of those where it didn't need too much story. But then again, in the same token, we kind of knew the story. Just we knew the sense that they have fought each other in the past, and it's just one of those matches where they're fighting to see who the better man is, and that's okay. Sometimes that's all the story needs to be, you know, like it just needs something. Just needs to be there. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, I want to kill your dog type shit. Like no, like I just want to beat you in the ring. Like that's it. Like just relax.
It doesn't have to be I want to kill your family and burn your house down.
Relax. Yeah, like I just want to beat you in the ring. Like it's fine. Like
that's funny.
That's what brought me into it to begin with. So I don't know. To me, this was just it's just incredible, man. Just what they do is incredible. How they almost mirror each other is just insane. And I forget who it was in commentary, but someone had mentioned that Pac may be pretty much essentially like a better Ospreay than Ospreay is. And I was just like,
interesting.
Yeah, and like, oh my god, I think it was the corkscrew off of the top turnbuckle to the outside.
Oh yeah,
Just
and they did it back to back too.
I hit it first, and they were right. Whoever was it, Excalibur, whoever said it, Pac, he tightens and he holds his body in, like when he
has a low center of gravity more, so he's more compact.
His body in more, yeah, he's just more tight with it. Whereas Ospreay is just a different flow. And when I saw that move, and then the commentator said it, I was like, man, yes, that's it. And that's why it brought me into the match even more. Because then I was like, it just gave me a different perspective of watching it. Like, man, like just to see how they can really outdo each other. And I loved this match. And this is why I loved AEW's concept. And this is why I was truly thankful for them to start as a company, because this is what made them different from WWE. Or Pac was in WWE. He was in 205, but he was a cruiserweight. Like
I think the last time he showed up was with that bad ankle injury, right?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
He was
Yeah. So, and again, if he was there now, things would most likely be different. But it's just one of those things where, had AEW not been here, who knows where Pac would be? He'd probably be overseas somewhere wrestling or just on the indies. And yes, he'd be obviously doing fine for himself, but it just would be different, you know. And he wouldn't be showcased. And Pac is one of those where it's frustrating that they don't use him more. And again, who knows if it's a work visa thing or if it's just a Tony Khan bookie thing or whatever it is. I don't really care. It's just frustrating. And it's just one
He
of
should be
those where,
somebody that should be wrestling MJF, for
yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah.
That's a
He beat,
perfect example.
yeah. He, I think he took, oh my God, Omega to or no, he defeated Omega. I think he either, I don't think he submitted Omega, but I think he like just like made Omega pass out in like their first match that they had in AEW or something to that effect. But I just remember
Mhm.
thinking like this is how Pac should. He's a killer. He's a bastard. Like he you look at him and you just get that vibe from him. Like yeah, like
Yeah.
this dude's different, you know. So
Yeah, with that hair in front of his face
oh
and his
yeah,
his
yeah,
promos, I don't even look at like where it's like I don't even listen to his words, just his presence
yeah.
alone. Where
Mhm.
hair in front of his face dripping down, like a lot of it with promos, and like I said, the wet napkin, it's not about what you say, also, it's how you present yourself. So
Mhm.
somebody like the bastard Pack, it's like just his presence of being a badass and willing to sacrifice his body and he's a great wrestler. That alone is a sell, and that
Mhm.
should
Oh yeah.
be what you should be able to put somebody like him with an MJF and like they did Osprey. The comments are great, dude. Every time you see me chuckling, I'm just reading comments.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
I just this fucking cracks me up. This Tash shit fucking kills me. um. Let's see, Joseph. Okay, yeah, I'll kind of hold on to that one, Joseph, for the end there, because we'll get to that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so
Good.
just following up, Rewind 89 says some people are not WWE people, so cool to see other people rise to the occasion in AEW. Yeah, short and
Yeah.
sweet. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think that match is
What'd you think about the after with the Ricochet, obviously, the backstage promo with Ricochet, and I thought it was a little I liked it, but I also thought it was a little awkward where I feel like it was very I don't think there was a script. It was more like, hey, go interact, because it seemed a little freestyled.
yeah.
Ricochet slapping his hand away. I liked, he went to shake his hand, he slapped it away, and you could tell by Osprey, it was like he got kind of caught off guard by that. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was like freestyled, which is cool. But Ricochet's never been a great promo, always in the ring. That's obviously probably going to lead to they're setting that up for a bigger event.
Mm-hmm. To me,
They should
Ricochet
probably
is
do that
Spider-Man.
sooner.
Yeah,
Spider-Man,
just don't
as
talk.
far as what he could do.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
don't talk. You're
it's
amazing.
okay.
Spider-Man is my
Brock
favorite.
Lesnar built his whole
Yeah,
career off that, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there's
Like
Undertaker built his whole career off
yeah,
of not talking.
just don't talk, bro. You don't need to talk. Like he is
Agreed.
literally the definition of actions speak louder than words. Because like my dude does not need to talk, and like when he talks, like I think, God, was it the first night or maybe the second? I don't know. They did some promo with him backstage. Like it was like his first promo. Just like him welcoming himself to AEW, and he was just like, and at the end he was just like all smiling, like, "All right, let's get it," and or something to that effect. And I'm just no, like, no, let's not.
Yeah.
Like, just like, dude, you're fucking amazing. Like, I thought his presentation at All In was incredible. His debut, the look, he was great.
I have one
What's up?
thing. I
Yeah.
thought they should have done so. He makes his debut in All In a multiple ladder match, right? A lot of things involved. So it almost took the shine away from it. You know what I mean? So like there's a lot going on. And then he made his debut and then you didn't really see him after the first 5 minutes.
No, yeah,
And that
yeah. I'm sorry, go
I'll
ahead.
finish my point right away.
No, you're good.
He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. And then the next Dynamite, he was main event. I personally thought, and this is what WWE does a great thing of doing, is put together a vignette or an interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
Let him talk a little bit, not talk promo wise. Just do a vignette of, hey, let's get to know this random guy, because not every, yes, he's in WWE, so everybody knows who Ricochet is. But let's get to know Ricochet in another light.
Yeah.
And he didn't do a promo for Ricochet. And I thought doing a promo for Dynamite would have been very good for him as a wrestler. Like, hey, this is why I came here. This is why I want to wrestle. This is whatever. And it doesn't have to be more than 30 seconds, 60 seconds. It could just be a quick. They never really did that. And then all of a sudden he goes to All In. He's in a multi-wrestler ladder match. And then, boom, main event on Dynamite with no promo, no real, let's get to know this guy. Why did he come here? Why is he new? What's his motivation? You know? Is that not a good, I feel like that's I thought about that. I was like, get to know, don't assume this is a new Ricochet that you're trying to promote, not the old Ricochet in WWE where he did a lot of good moves, wasn't good on the mic. Put together a package of a video that's pre-recorded and get the juices flowing a little bit. I thought that
for sure. I agree with you 100%. And I think what I liked the most was just the visual of him, like his entrance at All In, the way that they really like his first couple minutes in the match, like he really shined. And I think the issue that I had with the follow-up, everything that you just said there, but also was the fact that he went so long with Kyle Fletcher. Like, it should, first of all, Fletcher, like he should have been fighting someone lower on the card, like someone from Private Party, someone who is very good in the ring, who can fly around just like, or a Dante Martin, someone who can fly around. Yeah, someone who can fly around just like a Ricochet, or is very similar, high flying skill wise. But that Ricochet can beat in 5-6 minutes, if that. Not necessarily a squash match, but you give Ricochet the opportunity to come out there, kind of like play up to the crowd, say, hey, how you doing type shit, introduce himself, like not talk, but just get out there and just get a feel for the AEW crowd. And it's different than WWE. Whether we all want to say wrestling fans we're at the core all the same, we're not. Like, you have your WWE style fans and then your AEW fans, and yes, people like me and you, like, we blend, but you still do have your hardcore fans who they may have heard of Ricochet, but they don't really know of Ricochet. Like, they don't like WWE. They haven't watched WWE in years.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks and we have yet to fall in love with Ricochet. You know, like, I'm viewing AEW Ricochet totally different as a fan, and I watched him for the last 5-6 years. Make me fall in love with AEW Ricochet. You know, like, paint a different vibe of who he is and what is he here to accomplish? What does he want? You know, the who, what. Oh, thanks.
There you go.
Thank you, Rewind. Hey, that makes me feel good. My birthday's next week. I'll take that as a birthday gift. Thank you, Rewind 89. Shout out 89. That was the year I was born. But I thought that just build it up a little bit more, because I want to, just like in AEW, I wanted to love Ricochet, not only in the ring because he's dynamic, he's amazing. The biggest thing with Ricochet is outside the ring. I've always wanted to fall in love with Ricochet outside the ring. He never got the opportunity, couldn't figure it out. Now you're in AEW. Make me fall in love with you as a person. Show that you made the decision business-wise to go your own way, to create your own marketing and ability. So that was my only issue with the Ricochet kind of debut, was not enough of who, what, when, why, you know, set a tone for why you came here to AEW. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%, dude. 100%. Yeah. And the comments are something else.
There you go. 89. Both Virgos.
Yeah.
Shout out Virgos. There you go.
There you go.
Hey, Rewind's bigging me up. I might have to be on here every single week.
I was about to say, you know, we may have to make this a regular. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so I just think, and I think one more thing with Ricochet. When do you think we get that match? Do you think we get that with him and Ospreay soon? Do you think we get that? God, what's
the next pay-per-view? What do we got? We got Wrestle Dream. I think Tony Khan said but what's before Wrestle Dream?
I'm trying to see when Grand Slam is, because we have Grand Slam.
Yeah, Grand Slam. Grand Slam is before
September 25th. Okay. And so it's not necessarily a pay-per-view, but they treat that as a big show. I'm sorry?
They do, because it's in New York too, and they have to sell tickets to that. So maybe they rush it.
God,
do that. I don't know.
The ticket sales for that though, I think they were not looking good last
Not
time I
great,
saw
not great, not
Russell
great.
ticks. Yeah, bro.
And that's New
Yeah,
York, bro. That's yeah.
yeah.
I think I seen the last 3 years. It was the first year was 18,000. Second year was like 14.
That's what I was trying to pull up. Yeah.
Now it's like 8 at this point where it's listen, ticket sales money will be the reason and the voice for what is working and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a good team in sports, you sell out. I'm a Yankees fan. Yankees, no matter what, will sell out mostly every game.
Yeah.
WWE, they have a Raw in Fort Lauderdale, in Arkansas, in Stockton, California. It doesn't matter. They're always going to sell out. AEW needs those numbers to be up or stay the same and consistent more than WWE. And it's speaking where all of a sudden you have all in last year, and then they do 25,000 less ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
And now they move to Texas, Dallas, Texas next year. What's going to be that? If it was 50,000
I'm
this
nervous
year,
about that show.
what is
Yeah.
that going to be? And it's like a lot of people want to be like, don't be so negative about the product, but it's like we're not being negative about the product if we're speaking truth to actually what we're all seeing. If ticket sales are down, that means less people are going to it. I haven't been to an AEW event since we went to one, let alone they haven't been in South Florida. Actually, I've been to one in with the Panthers arena, but it speaks to if people want to go and see your product, they're going to show up, and they haven't been showing up. So
No, they haven't. And yeah, just to follow up on those ticket sales really quick, they last year they sold 11,263 for Dynamite or Grand Slam Dynamite, and this year, and this was as of September 5th, so about 3 days ago. They are set up for 5,728, and they have only distributed 3,742.
wow, and that's it. And you said that's Grand Slam New York crowd.
Yep.
That's a New York crowd. In New York, the mecca of sports entertainment with sports or hence entertainment, they'll show up to anything.
Yeah.
We'll go and support anything. The fact that they can't sell those tickets right off the bat is devastating because I don't want to. I root for AEW. I want to watch
for sure.
two companies compete because that's where we get our best wrestling. I'm not speaking from a negative standpoint because I want one company to fail. I want AEW to succeed. I want them to be as competitive. It's just like, geez, come on. Like, put together a better product. So if you want to get to the next match.
Yeah. We shall move on. Oh, my goodness. The next matchup that we had here. Yeah. I thought I was about to skip one, but no, we had Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale in a Chicago street fight. This match I will be, I guess, fully transparent on. I was kind of like whatever going in on, I was like, all right, it's like there's no story, like it was just stupid to me. There was just really no real reason for it. But this match they kind of impressed me. I don't say they blew me away with it, but just the physical stuff that they did, like just seeing Willow, and I really liked the Willow showcase because Willow, when you look at her, especially on paper, she has that vibe of a young Bailey in NXT. Like, oh god, like is she like? Can we take her seriously? Does she take herself seriously? And especially with her big video, like it's just all colorful, like just like bubbly letters and stuff. And she's like, all right, like you would think it'd be too much, but for whatever reason, man, Willow has just always she knows how to have like a nice balance to it. Like she knows how to be like kind of like smiley, happy go lucky, but she has just enough edge to her and it doesn't feel forced and it doesn't feel fake. And I think this match was just kind of perfect to kind of let her show more of that edgier side to her. And Chris Statlander, I think they are good friends in real life, so that the chemistry was probably a big help there as well. but like she really kind of showed out, and you would think this is more of a Chris Statlander is more of a street fight style kind of a match type person anyway. Whereas Willow, you wouldn't really peg her as that. But yeah, like I was just really impressed by this match. Statlander, of course, did end up defeating Willow by submission, which was quite interesting. She choked out Willow with a steel chain around the neck and in the mouth, which obviously, I would probably give up to then. But you just don't see that often in a straight fight, a submission finish.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. And I think this was one of those matches that probably didn't necessarily even need to be on the card, but it was fine. And I didn't I'm not gonna even say hate it because I didn't expect to hate it, but it wasn't more of a time waster than I thought it would be, I'll say. And that's
Right.
and I will say too before I'm sorry, that I appreciate them even having a match that's not centered around an AEW title. I guess technically there's a championship still involved, but it's not AEW related. And it wasn't for the title in this match. So I will give them credit
Yeah.
for that too.
I
Yeah,
love
man.
I love Willow. I love everything about her. I love her energy. I love, and I'll say it, I love that she's a big woman in a good way. Not saying it's a bad way to be a good woman. Don't hold me to it, but she is athletic. She's a beautiful girl. She like wears it well all around. Physically, there could be a proponent to make her a little bit more, not like a Nia Jax, because they're kind of similar in build. Like we do. Hey, I'm not going to break down men wrestling and not break down women wrestling same. It has to do with build and look and everything. So I love her entrance. I love the way she came out with a different look. With the braided hair and the
Yeah,
different gear. I
yeah,
love that.
dude. I had to do a
That
double
that
take. I was like, wait, what?
yeah,
Yeah,
that was
dude.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that look.
It was very fitting.
Uh yes, the matchup with her and Statlander has been good. It's been going on for months. It's probably gonna end soon because it's like, geez, how many times you're gonna have these matches? But to have that aggressive, I think I have in my notes the table spot was aggressive with her
Yeah.
jumping off the turnbuckle
Up.
onto the table. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The ending with the chain. I don't think it had to be like a hardcore match. If it was the final match, let's be gone with it.
Yeah.
But I love Statlander. Um, what she looks like build wise. I love the little things with her where she does sign language. I think I've talked about this in other pods.
Mm-hmm.
Like those little touches are very unique and different. I love both of these women individually, but hopefully this was a payoff match. I could definitely see somebody like Willow going to WWE. That's something I could definitely see interest there from a look, from a personality, from an ability wise. I think WWE is looking at her when her contract's up because
Oh, yeah.
right. And so I thought this match was what's buddy's name that's in Statlander's corner?
Stokely Hathaway.
He's a character. He's great. He's a great manager. He's a great personality, but sometimes he's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
He's over the top. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought this match was, I don't like when women are involved in these hardcore matches. You see it more with AEW than WWE. When it's necessary, it's cool. But I didn't think this was necessary to have a hardcore match with these two to end it. But I like both of them individually, and hopefully they could go on to do something, special and have bigger range because we're going to talk in a little bit about Monet, and these are
Yeah.
people that should challenge Mercedes in the belts that she has.
Yeah. Well, then that kind of brings into the issue of why there's multiple titles to begin with, like for the females division, but yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, man. So I kind of ate some words on that one. So hey, reading some
Yeah,
comments.
I tried to be nice about
Yeah.
it. I thought it was good. Like I said, Love
I
both
thought
of
it was good
those
too. Yeah,
individuals. I love those wrestlers. I think they're two of the best women's wrestlers that AEW has, in my
100%.
opinion.
Yeah, man.
Okay, good. We agree with
And that's
that.
why I was bummed that Willow had to lose to Mercedes when she came in. I knew it was gonna
Yeah,
happen, but I just really didn't want it to. Like I thought that they had so much more that they could get out of Willow, and
I
it
love
was one of
Willow.
those situations. Yeah, man, I do too. Like
Even talking about her, I'm just like, I'm thinking
it
about
makes
it
you
now. I'm like,
happy.
damn,
She makes you happy.
I love
She's
her. Like, I'm a big
yeah,
fan.
me too. Yeah, so maybe we should like start a petition or would they do
Yeah.
justice for Willow? um Yeah, man. So next up we had, which I thought was just a complete waste. Just to be fair, the AEW Continental Championship match. We had Kazuchika Okada, your champion, facing off against Orange Cassidy, Konosuke Takeshita, and Mark Briscoe. I was hopeful on my predictions with this. I was hopeful that Takeshita would win. This would start
Hopeful
a
about what?
look, dude.
Hopeful
Okay,
about
so
what?
I was hopeful that my I guess I don't know, my silver lining was that Takeshita was
I'm
gonna
calling
win.
you out because I need to know
Yeah,
what you were hopeful about.
yeah, so I thought that I was hopeful that, my word, that they were going to use what Konosuke has been doing in Japan and the little momentum that he built up over there, bring him back over here and kind of make it a shock victory. Yes, it wouldn't be like so surprising because Takesha does have the skills to back it up, and it's not like, oh, it's not unbelievable in that sense. But it would be like, what the fuck? Like no one expected him to win. So I thought they really had an opportunity to do something. He didn't have to pin Okada. He could have pinned Mark Briscoe because even though he's a heavyweight champion in Ring of Honor, he is the world champion. No one gives a shit and no one knows. And he's just throwing in bullshit matches like this. So what difference does it make anyway? And then two, you have Orange Cassidy in there. It's the most random fucking match. But even if you don't want Briscoe to lose, you could possibly have him pin Cassidy because Cassidy is like the golden boy. I guess you can do pun intended with AEW, and he rarely takes a loss. So I thought you could have done that. But no, of course not. You just do the predictable. And I will say they did the predictable with having Okada win, but I was surprised that he defeated Cassidy. Um, So yeah, I will say that. But other than that, dude, it's just really frustrating. What they've done with Okada is just absurd. I I was hopeful that they were going to, yes, they turned him heel, and I was like, okay, like I wasn't expecting that. Like, let's see what they do. They've done shit with him. The bitch thing is so dumb to
It's
me. Like
so over
the first week was like, okay, that's fine. But then
funny.
it's getting played out. And I guarantee you, dude, if this was WWE doing this to Okada, people would be losing their fucking mind. It would be like, oh, they're disparaging the good name of Okada, like they're making fun of a Japanese wrestler, all this shit. And it's being done in AEW and no one seems to really be upset about it. Or it's just like, oh, we're just playing the long game for Omega to come back. Why? Why are we playing a long game? Why? I don't understand it. So Okada's getting paid millions of dollars. Again, good for him. Get your bag. But like he's getting paid millions of dollars to come on here and have a backstage segment with Mercedes Moné and a private party and saying bitch and doing her dance and that he's getting hot. Like what? Like
It's
no,
funny.
dude. No.
It's crazy because I didn't know anything about Okada before, and then I listened to Jim Cornette, and he calls him O Cody because he had blonde hair when he came over here and whatever. But he's a gimmick, and it's like taking away from somebody like me that doesn't know about Okada. I've only seen highlights. I've seen what they show me. I don't think of him as a serious main eventer immediately. I look at him as a joke, and yeah, he says bitch, and it's like the word bitch in AEW is like, if you want to get over and have a great promo, just end your promo with saying bitch. It's old. It's overused. Every single promo just says it, and I'm tired of it where I think that Briscoe should have won that match because, in my opinion, his promos are funny, entertaining. If I have two TVs on, which I always do, and if his promo's on mute, I'm switching it over and I want to listen to him because it's at least entertaining to what he's saying. It might be wild, it might be insane and over the top, but that's what wrestling is, and that's why we all watch it. I thought that Briscoe should have won that match because he got
Mm.
busted open right away. He was bleeding in the first 10 minutes of the match. Yet they're keeping that title on him just to do the EVP, the elite, as they have all the gold. But it's old, it's broken. It's been 6 months already, and it's not getting you more ratings. It's not getting you more viewership. Yeah, let the Continental, as Jim Cornette says, the Continental Breakfast Championship. Like, move on from it. It's okay. The whole group doesn't have to have a belt. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Briscoe. I love, obviously, with his brother passing and tragic, and
How
not saying you
sad.
take
I still can't.
not saying you take advantage of that, but business wise, you can, and I use quotation, take advantage, where it's like, not only does he deserve it, but also like pay homage where he could be bigger than just ROH championship, which I don't even know when he defends it. When does he defend his title?
I have no idea.
Who knows?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Who cares? If me and you who watch the product can't say that, it doesn't really matter. So the fact that they didn't have that random 4-team juggernaut, whatever they want to call it, didn't change the belt. Bad decision. Who's Rewind? Jeez, Rewind. I have a wife.
Brianna.
I like it though.
And
Keep it
Brianna,
coming.
and she's active in the chat, so I might want to watch herself.
Yeah.
She says
Hell
she's in
yeah.
a fighting
I love
mood.
it. I love it. I make
And
sure, by the way, I was struggling last night. I was drinking a little bit, watching football and AEW. So I pulled together myself nice for this
Hey,
episode. So
you look
we'll
great.
see.
You look great, man.
Thank you.
Yes. Next, I'm gonna let you take this one. Next, we have the TBS Championship match. Speaking of Mercedes Moné facing off against Sheeta for the TBS Championship. Match was what it was. I really want to know your thoughts though of Mercedes as a whole, her AEW, I guess, presentation so far, and yeah, just in what you think. Yeah.
Here we go. I'm going to keep it, try to keep it simple and short. Sasha Banks, I love Sasha Banks. Visually, in the ring, promo-wise, in WWE. I thought coming out of AEW, it's like, all right, cool. We're going to see not the same product, but we're going to see similar with a little boost, maybe a little bit more freedom. Because when she left WWE, she talked a lot of stuff about not being able to do certain things, whether it was promos, whether it was her identity, whatever it was. Since being in AEW, I don't hate her or dislike her as a heel, which if you're a heel, you want to hate somebody or dislike somebody. I literally don't agree with everything she's doing. I think her just watching her match with Sheeta was awful. I thought that match was not good. And you could disagree with me, and I would love to hear that. I thought the match was awful. I think that every promo she's done in AEW has been so cringe, awkward, not genuine. It's like you're trying to play an actress. You're not an actress. You're trying to play an actress. It's just weird. It's just not what I expected. And I want to root for Mercedes Moon. I want to. I'm a big fan of hers. This has been the most lackluster version of her that I've ever seen. The match today, like I said, I just watched it right before we got on. So it's fresh in my mind. The ending was poor. The kicks at the end were weird. Even after she won, walking away right away. Like, where's Britt Baker? I don't understand any of it. I don't understand it. She got her what, $5 million, and she's resting on her back heels because she's not putting out a good product right now. And this is somebody that I'm a big fan of. Like, one of my friends that come over that watches probably 4 events a year loves Sasha Banks. And I become a big Sasha Banks because of him. And I watch her and I'm just like, what is this? Sorry. That was me. I tried to be efficient, but it's
No,
bad.
I'm sorry. I was reading. You may need
Yeah,
to
the
watch
comments
out.
are great. Keep it coming.
I
If
was
I'm wrong, keep it coming, please.
no, I was just making you giving you a heads up. You may need to watch out.
Oh yeah.
Oh god. But yeah, no, fearfully confident. Did have a question on here. Here we go. Are Mercedes and Camille the female version of MJF and Wardlow?
Hmm. They're trying to be like Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
Yeah,
Right?
I would say more so like Shawn Michaels and Diesel. I think they would be they.
Sorry. Cameo. No. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think it would be. I think it would be. They would be hopeful, right? That they would end up being MJF and Wardlow. But looking at how it played out, I don't know. I don't know if you would really want it to be MJF and Wardlow. I think that Wardlow really got the shit end of that stick. Maybe if you're Mercedes, you do want it to end up being an MJF and Wardlow situation. And I know where you're coming from. Fearfully confident, obviously. In this situation, Camille will be better handled than Wardlow has been because we have no idea what's going on with Wardlow, and that's just been a complete clusterfuck. So that's a whole other story. But maybe, hopefully, and I think Camille does have a lot of upside. If you've seen her in NWA, her whole shtick was she was silent. Like no one knew if she even sounded like she didn't speak a word. She was just Nick Aldis's heavy, essentially. And I think that that's kind of the vibe that they're going with here, and I like that, and I think it's smart. But it's almost a situation where that's the move. It's almost a situation where you do want Camille to kind of leech almost off of Mercedes and get as much off of Mercedes' star power as you can, and that's possible. But I don't know, man. I think it's a TBD on where Camille goes from here, though. But I think Camille there's something special with her too. And if you haven't seen her, if you're not familiar with her, um, it's gonna be fun to watch her in long term, I would say. um, better question.
I was dealing
Okay.
with other things. No, I love the Camille angle. I love that they brought in a heavy for Mercedes. I don't think they're executing it properly where it's like, I don't know, man. Like I said, I text you before. I'm trying not to be negative just to be negative. I'm trying to be honest about what I'm watching because
Yeah.
the core in me wants it to be good. I don't spend 3-4 hours a week watching AEW to be like negative. Like I'm not watching the show to be like, let's see what is awful about this show. No, I'm watching it because I'm like every week I'm like, let's go. I love that they
Yeah.
brought in Camille to be a heavy for her. I love the Diesel, Shawn Michaels. I think that's always great. I love the angle back in the day. That's always my like staple in wrestling. Like when you have a gifted inside and outside the ring person, and then you have a heavy. And I love Camille. Like she doesn't need to talk. She's like a China. She's built. She looks the part. I just don't think. Did you see the last Dynamite where she had her own party and then Private Party came in?
Yeah.
And
With Okada was backstage.
Was that not one of the most awkward
dude,
promos you've ever seen?
It was cringe. It was like the
wanna,
definition of cringe. And I
watched
was like,
it
this
by
is really
myself and I
happening?
was like, I hope, yeah, exactly. I was like, is it just me or is all of this awkward? All of it was almost overly produced. And I think that's what's happening. behind the scenes, for those that don't know, Mercedes Moné has a writer that is writing for her and is producing all of her promos, all of what's going on. Like I said earlier, it's becoming almost too produced, too over the top, where that promo, I get what they were trying to do, make Mercedes like, oh yeah, look at me. I'm
It's
having
like
a
that
party because I won.
CEO. Yeah.
Yeah, that CEO. It's like you're doing too much. You're not even allowing the fans to like you in a bad way, because she came in the company as a babyface because people wanted to like her. And then they quickly realized, like, oh no, people are not rooting for you. Let's make her a heel. And now people don't even want to root. It's silent. And
Well,
it's a
why
shame.
why do people want to change CEO? Like, why? Like, what makes you think that like any CEO was ever like popular? And if that was the thing, then like it's like okay, so you're trying to be the annoying, I guess, heel that has something catchy that you want to get over, but you know that people are gonna dislike you for. So it's just like too convoluted. Like it's just too hard to even explain. So it's stupid. Like I don't know.
Ashley, there's one thing about wrestling that I'm very nitpicky about. It's the small things. For example, All In, what's his name that just came back? That had the beef with Mercedes.
Oh, MJF.
Garcia. No, fuck.
Oh, Britt Baker.
No, dude wise that just had the baby with the other wrestler. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out right now.
Who?
No,
So say that again. So who came back recently?
yeah, not he went to ROH. He has the ROH belt. I'm blanking out. Hold on. Not Garcia. Why do I? Oh, the Spanish God.
Oh, Sammy Guevara. Oh, yes. Okay,
Hold
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Sammy Guevara comes out in that multiple ladder match wearing Wolverine gear.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another guy, the Swole, whatever his fucking
Brian
gimmick
Cage.
is, wearing
The same color scheme, the same gear.
it's those, I'm telling you, it's those little things that if you're not paying attention, sorry for blanking out for people that had to deal with that for the last 15 seconds. I apologize. But those are the little things in wrestling that matter. It's you have two guys coming out in the same match wearing the same gear. So if you're new to this or you're watching it, you go, oh, they're on the same team, right? No, they're not on the same team. They're wearing the same gear. Same thing with everything else with AEW. It's like they don't communicate. It's like everybody's going out and doing their own thing. And it's like, all right, go. All right, go.
And
I don't get it.
I don't either. And it's
There's no cohesion. There's nobody saying, like, hey, you're not going to do that. Hey, you're not going to wear that gear because someone else is wearing it. There's no conversations like that. That has to happen in professional wrestling, especially on a pay-per-view in All In. You can't have two guys wearing the same exact gear. I know it sounds
facing
petty.
each other.
Facing it. I know it sounds so small, but if you're watching and listening to this podcast and you love professional wrestling, that cannot happen. It's an absolute no. You can't allow two guys to go out wearing Wolverine gear. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Rewind. Thank you, Rewind. You're the best. Oh my God. I gotta follow you. Where are you on social media?
Yeah.
I'll put my
Rewind.
Enter the Lab, Elvis Escobar on Twitter, Elvis in the Lab. Follow us because I need to follow Rewind 89. You're the best. Thank you. You're the best.
This is very entertaining. Very entertaining. Yeah, man. So again, no surprise, Mercedes wins. Terrible match in my opinion. but I expected much more in ring wise. Again, there was really no story going into it. I expected more, at least in ring wise. I still can't believe they got over 15 minutes. It was insane. But yeah, uh,
Isn't doing
just
live on this episode so fun? Is this not the
I don't
best
know if I'll
experience
get
ever?
flagged for this, but if I do, it'll be worth it.
What? I don't have
Just
social media.
comment.
Just trying to wait, are you? I mean, I was gonna ask if you're female or male, but either way, I'm married, so it doesn't matter. But
Hey,
I would like to know context.
yeah.
You
We
complimented me
welcome
a
all
lot.
here.
No, we welcome all, but I just want to make sure that I'm addressing you
Of course,
properly.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Pronouns, all that good stuff, right?
Yes.
All right.
This is the best episode we've ever had.
This is
By
great.
far.
Yeah,
By far.
I wasn't gonna go live because it's
I love
and
this.
for selfish reasons, it's easier like editing wise when you don't go live because I don't
Oh, it
pay for
is.
certain
Yep.
things. But it's well worth it. It's well worth my time.
Thank you
This
guys
one.
for commenting.
Yeah,
This has made this episode amazing.
facts.
Just to bring it back though, just last comment. Britt Baker, where is she? Is she hurt? Is she
Yeah, I know. No,
what?
there's that because you heard about the whole beef between her and MJF and all that bullshit, right? Backstage. Did
Yes.
you hear about that?
Is that
Yeah.
still going on?
No, I don't think it's still going on, but I think it's probably remnants of that. I think it's probably
Be professional. Come
just
on,
leave it,
bro.
like leave her home type situation, I think. And I mean, obviously with her, like she has a full-time job, so she doesn't need
Yeah.
wrestling. It's
But
it's
also
what she wants
be
to do.
professional.
Yeah,
Are you all in? All in, pun intended, or not? Like,
right.
let's have matches. I think I love Britt Baker. I would love
Me
her
too.
in WWE. I would love. I think her gimmick is great. She looks phenomenal, great shape. But what are we doing? Are we? Are you not the best women wrestler in AEW? Day
Right.
one, the best of the best. Come on, we need more Britt Baker.
Yeah. And I don't and to me, it almost doesn't even matter, like, what's going on behind the scenes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, Tony Khan needs to man up and be like, this shit stops. Like, we're not going to have another situation that escalated with CM Punk. Not saying it would ever get to that point, but there's just no reason shit should even be happening.
Did
And
you see
yes,
the comments on his presser after about Britt Baker?
I
That's
don't
why I
think.
brought it up. He like dodged a question. He goes, "Well, you're gonna have to see. Maybe she comes back, and we'll know more leaning forward." So I don't know if that was a work about it, but it seemed like he just dodged a question overall. So either it's a real situation shoot wise where it's like awkward and things are not working out, or it's a work not to have her in All Out, and
It
then
looks
she's
like
gonna come up.
Yeah, it looks like Joseph may know some insight. He says, Kick-Ass respectfully, I can answer this for you regarding Britt. Britt was hurt in the match at All In with Monet. Monet botched many
Okay,
moves in the match, and Britt got hurt because of Mercedes' mistake. So okay, yeah, man. So yeah,
cool.
I stand corrected. If that's the case,
All right.
then
If
if
she's
that's the
hurt,
case,
I have no
then yeah,
comment.
then that's
Yeah.
unfortunate too. And then he says, Britt will possibly be having
Oh, that
surgery.
would suck. That would
Yeah,
that would suck.
yeah, dude.
That's unfortunate.
And Britt
I
and
love
Mercedes
Brit.
do not get along at all.
Yeah,
No
that would.
surprise
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
And
dude. They're alpha females. They're alpha
I was just about
females
to
that
say,
somebody's from day one. You're day one, Britt Baker, and somebody comes in trying to dictate, and I get it.
I was literally
I
about to
love
say
that.
the same thing. They had posted a picture before Mercedes was officially with AEW. It was Mercedes, Britt, and God, two other women at I think like a football game or something. And I remember seeing it and I was like, okay, let's see how long this lasts type thing. Like that's it's interesting that they're friends. Just because exactly what you said. They're two alpha females. They are two in my mind, and again, not knowing any of them outside of what I've seen of them on TV, you look at them and you can tell they're two alpha females. They
Yep.
are two stars. They're like your CM Punk and your John Cena, your CM Punk
Yes.
and your Triple H. They're gonna clash heads because they are so similar that they don't necessarily think that they know it all, but they've done what they needed to do for Britt. She's been the A1 day one for AEW. She has been there. She has been all in, like she's put in the work, and she doesn't have to. I have merch. I have 2 shirts with Brits.
Yeah.
Like, I will always have that respect for her, because like she said, like, she doesn't need wrestling. It was never a plan B for her. She had 2 1As, and it was wrestling and being
Yeah.
a dentist. So shout out to her. And yes, whatever happens backstage, whether they're sure or not, I don't even like, it's fun to speculate on, and I guess for content creators, to bullshit on,
Yeah.
and it's good for clicks and all that bullshit. But like, personally, dude, like, I really don't give a shit. If she's hurt, then that's very sad and
Oh
unfortunate.
yeah, of course. If
And
she's
but
hurt, then this
then that's,
conversation is
yeah. But
null.
if it's my point was, if it's still stemming off of the stuff that was happening with the whole MJF and what they said behind the scenes, that's bullshit. And that's just a prime example of Tony Khan needing to step up a bit and just put a squash to it, whether how major or minor it was.
And I will say this one thing before we go on to the next match is all the bad said about Vince McMahon, and there will be a documentary on Netflix about that. I'm a very big proponent on there needs to be a head of a company that dictates yes and no. This is not going to fly. So, like all the bad things that Vince McMahon had done, which it's a long list. At least you knew with Vince McMahon's like show up to work or you're gone or you're done. And I love that mindset. And I'm a big proponent of show up to work, be a professional, and do your job. And I've
100%.
always done that in my life personally. I've always done it with work, whatever it is. Show up, do your job. You might not like it. You might not agree with it. Show up and do your fucking job, because guess what? We'll get rid of you. And you don't know if you're going to make millions like you have in the last few years. So that's the one thing I always did respect about Vince McMahon was it was his show. I'm going to call it what it is. And if you don't like it, go ahead, go somewhere else. Because guess what? You're not going to be in a better landing spot. So all the bad things said about Vince McMahon, there are good things about him as a businessman. And I'm a Yankees fan, and George Steinbrenner was one of the best owners of all time. And hey, if you don't like it, pack your bags, go somewhere else, bro, because you're not winning on my team.
No. And dude, yeah, Vince McMahon is a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
And a lot goes without saying, but so I'm not even going to dive into that. But what you said, again, there's pros and definitely cons with everything. With Vince, you knew where the buck stopped. You knew what the fuck you were doing. Like, yes, they would say, oh, the script changes like minutes before the show or during the show. That's a different thing. But you knew that you need to be professional. You need to be on time. You weren't saying shit backstage. If you said shit backstage, shit's going down. When there's a shit with Jericho and Goldberg back in the day, like just the most, like the smallest, it got squashed immediately. It was done.
Because of one
if you
person.
can't handle it, yeah, you're gonna hash it out. Like, you're gonna talk about it like men. Like, we're fucking grown adults here. Like, we're not like children. If you have an issue with someone, you talk about it. If you can't cordially be in this on someone, then you maybe need to take a look internally, because unless they've like killed a family member of yours or done something very drastic, which we'll get to in the main event, but if something like that has actually happened in real life, then obviously. But like, dude, like, what could be so bad that like you can't interact with this person one day a week backstage? And it's not even like you're going to be working with them religiously. You don't have to be in the same room with them. You're in an arena. You're not confined in one small cafeteria with them. You can literally go in a different room. Like, I've just never understood that. And it's not even like these people are traveling day in and day out like they used to. Like, you work a day or two a week. You don't even travel together. You travel from where you live. So it's like, what are you doing? I don't understand
that. The situations are so much better. I love what Brianna said, pros and
I
cons.
no pun intended, but yeah.
But it's true, Ashley. Like, when we talk about professional wrestling, everything has improved across the board. Don't act as a diva. Same thing with like professional athletes. And I'm a big football, baseball, basketball. It's like everything for the athlete is catered to the athlete to make sure that they're better. Don't complain about the little things. It's fucking hard. I can only imagine what these athletes go through professionally in wrestling or professionally in football. Like, I just watched Tyreek Hill, I'm sorry,
Oh.
in Miami get handcuffed, put to the
I saw that
ground
shit.
literally 2 hours before he
Right
had to
before the
go out
game.
and play. Right before the game, he could have easily said, I was under a lot of stress. I wasn't prepared. I didn't. What did he go out and do? Caught an 80-yard touchdown for a score and go win the game. So there's people in life that either get it done or don't get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
It is. And you can make excuses or find a way to get it done. So it is what it is.
100%.
The chat. So we're gonna move on to the main event because we gotta keep things going here. We have the we have the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Our newly crowned champion Bryan Danielson facing off against Jack Perry. I thought the build to this was atrocious. We had Jack Perry, essentially Bryan Danielson going into the ring, issuing an open challenge, and Jack Perry having a video primed and ready to display on the Titantron. And then next thing you know, he's attacking Danielson from behind. Look, I understand the argument. Oh, well, Perry was probably expecting Danielson to go out there and say something, so he knew he was going to win and challenge him eventually anyway. No. To me, it was too cute. It was too matter of fact. It was too, oh, this happened. You didn't even need, you could have done one or the other. You could have had Bryan talking, had Perry attack him from behind, issue the challenge that way, or you could have had the video play, whatever happened, and have the Young Bucks attack Bryan from behind, whatever. So to me, it was just very cheap, too cutesy, to me, and
not very demure.
Yeah.
Too cutesy.
Yeah,
not
yeah, I'm never gonna say it. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. The and it's
sorry.
No, the ending for or what happened after the match for this and what happened in the other match that wasn't officially sanctioned, just really overshadowed everything for me. Overshadowed the entire match for Perry and Bryan. And again, it wasn't even like a match of the year candidate or anything like that. I think it was a good match though. I think Bryan got a good match out of Jack Perry. It's probably one of Jack Perry's better matches or best matches that he's had. And I mean, it's against Bryan, so how can it's to be expected. But I will give Perry credit, like he held his own. It was what you would expect. He wasn't in the position where he should have been challenging for the title to begin with, just character wise, progression wise. There are just so many reasons why he should not have been in that situation. But it's so funny. I think you have a new friend.
Hey,
and new subscriber, new follower, all that good stuff.
Enter the Lab, Rewind 89. When you log out of this, go to Enter the Lab every Monday night.
Every Monday night. You'll have your appointment viewing.
Yeah. Love it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so after the match, and I had what I thought was going to be one of my main talking points out of this was my frustration with Christian Cage coming out and the whole presentation of him challenging for the match or for the title. They're literally stealing the Money in the Bank concept from WWE, which whatever, like everyone borrows from everyone nowadays. With them, they called it, it was the casino, was it? I forget what the match was itself, but it's just like a contract.
That match is a casino. Yeah, okay.
I think that was the casino, or it was I'd have to look it up, but yeah. So
yeah, gotcha. Sorry.
Christian walks out. So after the match, obviously Bryan retains. Bryan retains. Then all of a sudden you have Luchasaurus come out, which I was like, okay, this is interesting. I thought it was just gonna be setting up whatever, right? But then we get Christian Cage coming out with the I guess it was like like a folder or something that he had.
Yeah, it was like a contract.
Yeah. Just folder, makes his way him at the patriarchy halfway down the ramp, and then we have Jon Moxley appear. And at first I was like, Moxley was standing there. I was like, okay, this new version of Moxley's dope. Like, he could be like a mercenary type thing, like just randomly popping out of nowhere. You don't expect it, but just like a defender type shit. Especially with what he's been doing with Shafir. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, all right, this is interesting. And then we see Pac come out, and then Wheeler Yuta, your favorite. So I'm like, all right, this is interesting. We'll see to save the day. Just we'll see what they end up doing here. And I was like, okay. And we just had them win the trios titles, so it's starting to make sense.
Oh, is
Then,
it?
then we get to the ring, and then they're all celebrating. Like, oh, okay,
Here we
okay,
go.
all right. And then they're wearing the white T-shirts too. And I was like,
Yeah, that's
that's
a little
very
weird.
yeah. So whatever. Then bro, the whole catastrophe starts happening.
Now this
And
is when you're gonna express your dislike and not okay. I feel
I,
it.
I fucking hated it. I liked the turn. The turn made sense. It made sense, but it didn't make sense. It made sense for this new angle that in this new character and this new route that they want to go with Mox. This isn't your company anymore. Whatever he's doing with Marina Shafir, like okay, like you're turning, and he already showed he didn't come out there to celebrate with Brian when he became the champion. He didn't interact with Brian at all. He didn't show any type of "oh, I'm happy for you, bro" type thing. So it's like okay, like where have you been? Even when he came back, he mentioned no mention of Brian at all of the championship win, nothing. So it's like that makes sense to me. And we'll get a reasoning for exactly why. Maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, whatever. Um, yeah, you see.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. And then I don't even so
Yeah,
audio
get to where you're going to, because
I almost like I almost don't even know how I want to start. So just kind of backtracking. Claudio raises his hands with Brian. They celebrate all of a sudden, and then nails Brian with the uppercut. Brian's on the ground looking like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, what's going on type thing. Then all of a sudden, John Moxley, he has a plastic bag, puts it around Danielson's head, and no one can get in. For how long was it? No one can get in to help Brian. He is literally laying right beside the ropes in the ring. He's being suffocated, and that's what we're led to believe.
the
Being
crowd
suffocated.
was chanting, "This
This
is
is
murder.
This is murder.
This
Yes.
is murder." Like,
Murder.
what?
Wheeler Yuta is crying his eyes out in the other turnbuckle because for whatever reason, even though
Who was holding him back in that one? Was
Claudio.
Claudio
I think it
holding
was
him back?
Claudio. I
Okay.
think it was Claudio. Yeah.
Who just
Oh
had
no, it was Pac. It was
a
Pac. It was Pac. It was
okay,
Pac. It was
but
Pac.
also Claudio, who just had a tag team championship match
With
with
Yuta.
his partner.
Yeah. And they're also the trios tag
Sorry.
champions.
Sorry.
They're also the trios champions, if I'm not
are they?
mistaken. Yeah.
Are they?
Pac,
'Cause I forgot.
Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta. Yeah. I'm
Oh, I didn't
pretty
know that.
confident. Pretty confident.
Wow. Okay.
So that just happened at All In, I believe.
This is insane.
Suffocating
When you're
him, dude. Suffocating him.
Ashley, this all sounds nuts.
I'm telling you, dude. I was listening to the recap I was listening to. When they were speaking this out loud, and they were comparing what happened. And even if we want to backtrack, which I'll kind of backtrack and put it all together. When you speak out loud the absurdity that we have seen on AEW television from Wednesday, and then what happened last night, what the fuck am I watching? Like, what am I watching? And I will preface this by saying I am not a cupcake. I am not one of these sheltered people. Okay. I am not this
Well,
hardcore
this is
person.
why I like this about you. I could
But
say see you and you don't get offended.
no, so I am not gonna act like I'm this hard individual first. Okay. I'm not a killer. I'm not nothing like that, you know, but
You
I'm
are.
not
You can be.
I can be. Don't push me. But I I watch twisted shit. I'm all about like the true crime stuff. I watch shit that I probably shouldn't watch. I'm that person. If they say don't watch this clip because someone is getting their head shot off, I will watch the clip.
I'm clicking it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
I'm that person. So I'm probably a little fucked up in the head. Okay, so put this out there to say
Love it.
what I watched did not offend me. I am not over here being highly offended on my high horse. And oh my god, what did my eyes just see? It's nothing like that. It's the fucking absurdity of watching a wrestler put another wrestler his head in a plastic bag for the interpretation that he is suffocating him.
Yeah.
First of all, it doesn't even matter why, but we don't even know why. They were just best friends for years, and we don't even know why. But that's not even the point, because again, I've seen people do more for less in the real world, so it doesn't even truly matter. But again, there's just that other aspect of it. You mean to tell me no commentator, no cameraman, no one for Tony Khan, no one from the back? You just went on this tirade of how much you love Bryan Danielson and how thankful you are that he is in your company and how he just had the best night of his life and his daughter just had the best night of her life, him winning the title 2 weeks ago,
2 weeks
and
ago.
you're fucking trying to kill him in the corner of the ring.
You don't put a
You
bag over
can't,
somebody's face without trying to kill them.
without the intention of suffocating him and making him pass
Literally.
out. And then you
No,
follow that up with your the best medical team in wrestling, per your commentators, coming out here and applying an oxygen mask to him. And mind you, we don't know the extent of him being suffocated. And when you literally break it down, when you suffocate someone and they pass out, you don't know how much airflow they've lost to the brain. You don't know what long term effects they've
they're
had.
basically
So
dead. You
you
can
would
only go so
ideally,
many
you
minutes
don't
and
want to
seconds
move them
without
so much.
airflow to your brain.
Thank you. You don't want to move them so much. They carry this motherfucker out like he just like shit his pants or something, and they don't want him to like walk, and they don't want him to do anything. Like, get the fuck out of here. You can't even put him on a stretcher. You mean to tell me that you've put people on stretchers when they've hurt their legs, when they've done all this other shit, and you carry this man out and he was just, quote, suffocated?
Ashley,
Okay.
this is where the best wrestle.
This is where the best wrestle. Okay, and that's another thing, because Bryan fucking Danielson is one of the best wrestlers of all time. Okay,
all time.
he does not need to be subjected to this. Whether this was his idea, whether he was like, I don't know about this, but okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You
I
can't
do
go.
lose respect for him because he had to agree with
He
it.
had to be. You.
That
If
is sad. If
he didn't want to be involved with this, you can't make me believe if he didn't want anything to do with this, he was forced into this. If this isn't, I don't want to take the loss, I don't want to take the 3 count here. This isn't a no, and I'm gonna go out there and enforce your shoulders to the 3 count. No, this is a man's head being put in a plastic bag. If he did not want that to happen, that's not happening.
He would not.
It's not
agree with
happening.
it.
And if
Yes.
that's happening, that's a whole nother set of legal issues for Bryan, right? So obviously
Yeah.
that's not happening. So the absurdity of it all, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't.
fact-
I don't know who thought this was a good idea. And again, I've been to a GCW show in the past. I have watched
all
some
that.
brutal shit. I've watched
Yeah.
shit that makes no sense, hitting people with light bulbs and putting people through doors and shit like that. People doing swantons off of buildings onto a pickup truck bed for no reason, just because. And
But
to me, that's
this is a major, like one of the best of all time. Like you said, he wouldn't have done it unless he agreed to it. And the fact that he agreed to it, I'm not saying I lose respect for him, but I am saying I do, because it's like
I question his judgment. I question a lot. I question a lot.
Because think about it. Backstage, they go, hey, the ending of the match, we want BBC to come out and turn on you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a bag over your head, suffocate you, almost to like losing your life. We're going to act as if it's that serious. Are you cool with that? Okay, cool. What?
Yeah. No,
What?
No.
What?
And I don't know. There's so many aspects of it, and the fact that Bryan was literally just put on this pedestal 2 weeks ago. His family was there. Like, it was just this kumbaya. And then the fact that now we're literally almost killing him. And I and I guess it doesn't even truly matter who it was, who is administering the bag to who. The absurdity of it, I hated it. I hated it.
Who did do the bag on it? Was it Moxley?
It was Moxley to Danielson, yeah.
And even with that, it's funny because just to backtrack a little bit with Moxley. So all of a sudden last week on Dynamite, or 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, he goes, this isn't your company anymore. Doesn't come out with the BBC, comes out by himself. And then later on is with, what's her name?
Marina Shafir.
Okay. So now you're like, what the fuck? And then the next week he does it again. BBC's not involved in this angle. It's like, that's what I said before. It was like, there's no consistency with this group since day one. They're a group when they want to become a group or want to help out each other, but it really isn't a thing. And then now You mean to tell me that this guy is suffocating in a bag and then Claudio uppercuts and now you're making Wheeler? Where do you go from there? Now Wheeler is by himself, which I just said early on. He's a wet napkin. So, like, he's by himself now. No, Ashley, like, think about this. You have Claudio with the bad guys now, which is cool. If you're not a good promo, you have to be a bad guy. You have to be a heel. That's just how it is. The less talking you do and the more physical you do, the better. Now you have Wheeler. Where does Wheeler go from here? He's not gonna. What's he gonna be by himself? Is he gonna team up with the conglomerate? He's gonna be in the conglomerate now. Watch. I guarantee you, next week he's in the conglomerate. It's like, how does this make sense? Nothing about that. I don't mind Moxley going on his own, but just to do it the way they did it, it's like, make it make sense. Make it.
Yeah. And I think the one thing when I was thinking back on it and I watched it back and kind of putting it.
Sorry. They're a part of the trios. How is that going to happen?
But that's what I was saying earlier. They're the trios champions. Pac, Claudio, and
how does that
Yuta.
make sense?
That's what I was saying.
How does that make sense?
Maybe that's a way that maybe what Fearfully Confident is saying, that maybe this is a way that could be like, you know what, screw the titles, like we don't care about them, you know, like we're relinquishing them. But I'm afraid that may start a tournament. But that's what I was saying earlier, which makes no sense as to why Claudio and Yuta were challenging for the tag team titles. So then essentially if they would have won, they would have been the tag team champions and the trios tag champs.
This is mind-blowing. Hearing you break down what you just said, you sound like a crazy person.
I know. Wait till I say crazy later on when I explain everything that's happened on TV. You would think I'm making this shit up or it's like a.
No, you sound crazy.
Know. Yeah,
you're delusional. Whatever you're breaking down, it's just nuts. I forgot. Thank you for bringing up that point, Fearful Confident, where it's like they're the trios titles. They're 2 of 3. And what do you do with that? Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
And again, yeah, but I will say though that the one thing that everyone seems to have in common with Moxley so far, besides them turning on Danielson, and maybe they turned on Danielson because they truly are going to view him as the face of AEW. And again, I'm not advocating for this or even saying that it's going to happen, but wild theory. However many months ago it was now, 2 months ago, we saw the picture with Tony Khan and Shane McMahon. About a month ago, or not, what was it? No, not a month ago. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we saw Moxley come on and say,
yeah, it was about a month ago.
This isn't your company anymore, to Tony Schiavone, to Tony Khan through Tony Schiavone. The wrestlers that are involved are Moxley.
But why rush through it? Why not make it make sense, though? Why not?
Maybe they're getting to it. I'm trying to, like, devil's advocate. Maybe they're getting to it.
No, you're doing great. You're
maybe
trying
have a
to
John
make
Moxley,
sense of chaos.
Former Cesaro.
You're an enabler. You're being an enabler.
I am.
Yeah. As long as you know it.
I do. So you have your John Moxley, your Cesaro, your Pac, all former WWE, Marina Shafir, all former WWE. So that's 4 right there. 4. Obviously, Bryan Danielson was one of them, but that's the guy that they're chopping off at the head. And then you bring in Shane. It's not your company anymore. Maybe they are going to want to do an AEW takeover type thing. Maybe that's why they ended up. Maybe they wanted to do that with the EVP thing, attacking Tony Khan. Then maybe they were like, "Hey, let's actually not do this because we can do this bigger and better." A few months down the road, maybe that's going to lead to the World's End pay-per-view. I'm just
all right. No, you have to do it in New York, where Shane, Connecticut, where they're from. Like, you have to do it in New York Grand Slam.
Oh, Fearful Confident just said the same thing too. Look at it.
Yeah, there you go. You have to do the Shane angle. But what I'm saying is, if you're doing that angle, there's so many better ways to do it other than chaos. And then you go,
and attempted murder.
Shane's here. Yeah, attempted murder. and then go, Grand Slam, Shane's here. Oh, it all makes sense. It's all perfect. It's like, no, make it make sense the entire time. Like, don't, and I get what they're doing. They're leaving us puzzled, confused, and that's a part of wrestling too. And I like that. But you're leaving us even after Shane shows up, if he does, even if, because that's still a question. We're so confused. Like, why did you, Shane, if you're going to do that angle, Shane should have showed up yesterday.
And
It would have made a lot more sense.
If you think about it, Bryan Danielson would be one of the ones who would hate Vince the most, if it was like a situation where like they were trying to take back control of the WWE, or not the WWE, the wrestling universe. Like if that's the mindset that they would be going in, like, with the NWO takeover, NWO wanted to take over WCW so they can have the show and make wrestling what they thought it should be. If that's going to be the mindset of Shane coming in, because when you think about it, when Shane was on, one of the last things we saw Shane actively doing on TV was that Raw Underground, that fight feel, that UFC-ish type thing.
Done. Yeah.
Right. But Shane is that guy, and Shane wanted to buy UFC back in the day. I'm pretty sure it was. I think I remember reading something about that before UFC was what it was, and it was even a thing. He wanted to buy that, and he wanted Vince to buy it, and Vince was like, they didn't think it was going to be a good business decision. But I just have a funny feeling, man. A lot of people were like shitting on it from the job, like Shane would never work for Tony Khan. Why not? Why not? Like
he's always been the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, Shane was the first one to leave. Do one thing. He went to China and had his own and created his own companies and made his own business dealings. Like Shane is fine. Obviously, he's made millions from WWE, let alone.
I've actually invested in Robinhood, company wise, stock wise, with a company that he has stake in, that's made me some money. So he's a good business person and bias with me, but like, why do this angle so erratically? Why do the angle so? All of a sudden you have Moxley. All of a sudden you have BBC. Now you have. It's just it just seems so wild and not uniform. Where it's like, I'm telling you, next pay-per-view has to have Shane McMahon come out to make sense of it all. You don't go up. You don't.
I think we will.
You don't go up to Dynamite and say, "This isn't your company anymore." Okay, make sense of it, and then you have a backstage angle 2 weeks in a row. Like, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Yeah, and I think we I think eventually we'll find out. It could be as early as Grand Slam. I mean, Grand Slam is in New York. What better fuck you to WWE than having Shane McMahon debut or make an appearance at Grand Slam in their backyard in New York?
That would make sense. It would.
The crowd isn't going to be big enough, though. So perception-wise, I don't know if you want to do that.
But if it's in New York, it makes sense to the New York connection, the Connecticut connection. Like I said, the payoff of the New York crowd will make sense, but it still doesn't make sense as a actual
angle in an actual story. Yeah.
It's just confusing. We're confused. Being confused is good. It's okay. But like when you're completely like, why is Jon Moxley doing this? Why is the BBC doing that? It's like, yeah, even if he shows up in New York and goes, hey, this is my company now. I bought half of it or whatever. We're still kind of confused because it's like, all right, what did the last 3 weeks have to do with this?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it nothing justifies or explains or, in my opinion, even makes okay putting a man's head in a plastic bag in the wrestling world and trying to make me believe that whatever payoff that Danielson can do in return to Moxley will justify that. And whatever Moxley has against Danielson for whatever reason justifies that. It just, it's a terrible visual. It's not one that they even want to put on their social media. They even went on Twitter and said that due to the graphic nature of it, they wouldn't be reposting it because the AEW doesn't condone such things. Oh, that's funny. We'll just wait about 20-30 minutes and so let's see what else you do or not condone. You know what I mean? And I think just too, and maybe this is me being an old person now, but it's just not a good visual, man. Like, you don't want the idea of putting someone's head in a plastic bag and someone being okay with it and it not being a big deal, that going out there. I don't know, man. Just, the world is so fucked up nowadays. We don't need anyone else adding more fuel to the fire. So it's just like,
Agreed.
bro, like just stop. And in my opinion, it got even worse in the
Well, main
unsanctioned
event.
match.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Lead
So
up. Go ahead.
with that one, again, this is another match that doesn't even
Actually,
matter.
I'm proud of you. You're being a lot more constrained to what I thought you would be. So,
And that's why I'm glad maybe I waited till tonight to do it, because if it was last night, I think I
yeah,
would have just like yelled and just been
yeah,
more, you know.
yeah.
Because I'm trying to see where they're gonna go with it. You know, because I do like we said, like I'm trying. I'm still very thankful for AEW. AEW needs to exist for the wrestling world. I want them to thrive, but it pisses me off when they do dumb shit like this, and when they pretty much disparage wrestling and put and make it look like a joke, and that's essentially what, in my opinion, they did. And I think that's why it pissed me off so much, between the absurdity of putting someone's head in a bag and then shoving a needle in someone's mouth. I just think
Well,
is the most absurd thing. I just think I think it's a slap in the face of my intelligence. You really expect
go
me to
to the
sit
next
here?
one.
You really expect me to sit here and believe that this is really happening? And obviously it's happening, right? Because I'm watching it happen. Um, and yes, there's things that you can gimmick in wrestling. I'm not completely dumb and naive to that. Yes, I'm sure, and I know that they gimmicked that chair, the ending of the match. But kind of starting off, just a few things. The just what I thought was kind of laughable. The fear of an Excalibur saying that they were gonna get their heads decapitated if the cage lowered on them. That was funny. No, that was just a little bit extra. I liked the little touch of, not little, but the touch of Swerve stapling the pictures to Hangman of his family members. I liked that. I liked that brutality. That made sense. And the issue that I had going into this, backtracking to Wednesday, is the absurdity of burning a man's house down. So you even had commented on it when I reposted it on Twitter, and I even said in whatever show, whatever it was, they got me. They got me. With the feel good moment of it. I thought it was really nice what they did. I thought that it was cool having that 3 minute, I think it was like 3 minute 18 seconds or whatever, clip of Swerve really fulfilling a lifelong dream. And it's something that everyone can relate to. It's something that made sense. But the fact that it took a drastic turn, I will give them credit for it. I didn't really see it coming. Maybe I should have, especially watching wrestling as long as I have. It makes sense. And I should have expected something more drastic coming. The arson, though, and the fact that you expect me to believe that a house that was just purchased legally, we're to believe, on a street, on a city street that you have to pay taxes on, is just burnt down. I loved everything, and I even said I loved
Wrong house.
Hangman. Yeah, right. I loved everything Hangman did up to lighting the match. I loved him going through it, even pouring the gasoline. I love him walking through each room saying, "This is the dirty ass floor that your mother fed you on. Like, this is the room that your dad told you to pretty much shut the fuck up on because he's watching TV." Like, I loved the emotional aspect of it. I loved the torture of it. And maybe this is me being a sick individual, but I would have loved the torture more than the actual blow off of burning the house. I would have loved Hangman going through each room, pouring gasoline on everything, making a set of keys for himself, and going out there, having the gasoline tank, and sitting there and being like, I can have your world go up in flames right here, but now I know where you live. I'll see you Saturday type thing. Because now Swerve can't physically pick up the house and move it. Hangman knows where Swerve's family is going to be living because Swerve strictly said he wants his kids to live there. He wants his grandkids to grow up there. Now Hangman knows forever where Swerve's family is going to be. Hangman can torment Swerve for the rest of his life. But now you have to take it to that extreme for the pure shock value of it. And that's why it pisses me off even more. And it's an insult to my intelligence. Whatever people enjoyed it or not, that's fine. Everyone is open to their opinion and what they enjoy. The fact that you expect me to believe that Hangman burned this man's house down on a public street and and Tony Khan was fighting off keeping him out of jail. Fucking stupid. I'm not dumb. I'm not 10. Even when I was 10 watching Stone Cold drop Triple H in a car off of a forklift 75 feet in the air, I at first was like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" I was like, "Oh, that can't happen." I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
We're all watching wrestling. We're adults, even if we're teenagers, we're watching it with a basic level of common sense. To go from arson, then to go to putting a man's head in a plastic bag, then to going to this type of match, which
We're the
honestly,
best wrestle.
right, building up
That's
to
I'm sorry, but that's what it is. They
that's
keep
what it
saying
is.
it.
It is.
They
It's
keep saying
that's
it.
their slogan. That's
We're the
their
best
adopted
wrestle.
slogan. The fact that even and honestly, dude, like I was saying, the brutality with the staples of I love the stapling of the pictures to Hangman. That was sick, and I loved that. That's the torture part. But the fact that you get to the end, and I even like taking the grill out because that's another personal thing too of Swerve. That's obviously like you see Swerve, he always has his grill, right? That's a part of him. Take every little thing away from him that means something, but then you bring out a needle, you bring out a hypodermic needle and jab it in this man's mouth.
Weird. 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 You're
What?
already in a cage
The fuck are we
match.
doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? And then he's on his knees. And I don't know if that was if I don't know if I'm supposed to take that as it was numbing the projected pain that he was about to receive or it was about to knock him out. I don't know what I'm supposed to take from that. And that's part of the problem too, because what the fuck am I supposed to take from you putting a needle in someone's mouth in a wrestling match? That's what I'd love to know. Um and then you take a chair and the sound, I read some comments from people who were live and like there watching it live. They said the sound alone, because obviously with the cage your
Yeah.
view is going to be obstructed when you're in the arena. They said the sound alone they could hear it in the corridor from the chair
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit if it's a fake chair, if it's obviously if it's a real chair, that's completely different. But I don't give a shit how much you say you gimmick this chair or whatever. You are still slamming a piece of whatever material so hard on a man's skull that it is making and it's ricocheting that type of noise. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for that. I don't care. I don't care what he was given prior. I don't care how much they fixed the chair. I don't like it. I get you needed to get to a certain point, but that's not it. Especially what we know nowadays. I the totality of arson,
Yeah.
attempted murder, and then whatever we want to call Hangman doing to Swerve. I just think it was absurd, and it really put a damper on the whole pay per view for me. It made me really sit there and say verbally, "What the fuck am I watching?" It made me want to turn it off. I didn't care about the
Yeah.
after show. I don't truly
Yeah.
care about how they follow up on Dynamite because to me, it's a
It's all
slap in the
shock
face.
value.
Yeah,
It's
and
all
and
shock
it's just
value.
throwing the
It's all
chip
to
to the
go
wall.
viral. And that's what I have the problem where it's like you want to promote where the best wrestle, and then you want to tell the wrestlers when they're in their promo to constantly talk about this is where the best wrestle, whether it's FTR, that's every other promo they do on Collision, which by the way, I don't watch Collision, so
No,
I
neither.
don't even see it outside of social media. And then you got Adam Copeland, who's what is he dealing with? He's dealing with an injury. Could he jump from the top of a cage to a table where he didn't even land properly? Like, part of it is his fault. He should have probably laid out on it. But you're asking
He
a
made
full.
a last second like change of thought. Like he was like,
Yeah,
"Oh
he
shit,"
did.
type thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
And you're
human,
putting,
you know.
oh, completely. You're putting a wrestler, all-time legend, with the best wrestle, and you're asking one of your 40-year-olds, upper 50-year-olds to jump off a cage onto a table to land a spot, and he breaks his leg. And one of the guys that you're paying a lot of money to, he's not going to be wrestling for months. We're the best wrestle. I'm going to keep saying it. We're the best wrestle. The same
Wrestle.
company, where the same
Wrestle being the
company
key
says,
word, bro.
let's put people on fire. We're the best wrestle. Let's put people in situations where they're jumping off the top turnbuckle into a table. We're the best wrestle, where they're putting their lives in dangers. It's not what's the other company? GCW?
Yeah.
I get it. That's their gimmick. That's that ECW type mentality where it's like, all right, they're gonna go viral. You cannot promote your wrestling company. We're the best wrestle every week as a company. And the reason why you bring people to your company is, hey, if you want to wrestle, you want to be a professional wrestler, not an entertainer. Stop putting your professional wrestlers in a situation where they could get hurt. And I understand, just like sports and wrestling, there's going to be times where you twist an ankle, tear an MCL, break a leg. It's going to happen. They're all doing, not me. They're all doing things that are not normal. But to put your professional athletes constantly in a situation where they're jeopardizing their health is insane. And it's I hate that they constantly talk about being professional wrestlers where it's they're not doing their job by protecting the wrestlers. It's sad. It really is sad. It makes me upset. I've never been in that realm of being a professional wrestler. Only watched, got into it recently, but to claim that you're a company that protects professional wrestlers, that you want to promote the fact that you're treating your wrestlers well and healthy and professionally, and then put them in situations where they completely are not protected and risking their health. It's wrong. It's bad.
It is. No, it is. And we have a question here. I think it's pretty interesting. We're kind of backtracking a little bit, but it still kind of plays into this as well, though. And we'll get to a couple more comments too. Yeah. But Joseph says, AEW has little to no booking and little to no storylines. Having said that, what do you think would be the best way of debuting Shane? What's the storyline? Just him showing up on Dynamite means nothing.
Can I take this?
Yeah, I was about to say you should
take
that first. Yeah.
So the moment they locked down the deal of Shane coming to AEW, automatically, if they want to do the Jon Moxley thing, automatically distance himself from the group itself, show after a week or two that he's distancing himself from the group, and then have him come out and promote it, and then say what he did, where it's not your company, I'm going another way, I'm going to be independent. That's cool. And then little by little, you build it up, where on the pay-per-views, All In, All Out, now all of a sudden you have some build towards, oh shit, Jon Moxley's linking up, I think, with Shane McMahon. All right, so there's some build. All of a sudden, if Jon Moxley comes out and it's like, this isn't your company anymore, links up with this random girl that he had no ties to previously. Also, he's in a group that he hasn't showed any ties to, and then turns on the main guy. It's like confusion. It's like, what's going really on within the actual group itself? I get what it is, where it's like, all right, we're gonna have Jon Moxley turn on the company, but there's no buildup. He just comes out and does a promo.
To me, the main thing with that is why, because when Moxley left WWE, it was a big ordeal, right? WWE actually did like a whole tour. It was like the Shield, like the going away tour for the Shield. I was at one of the shows, and it was kind of a surreal thing to see. Like, they announced it, like they even said his real name, like Jonathan Good or whatever, has they pretty much agreed to part ways, and he's not renewing his contract. We wish him the best. Da da da. People almost thought it was like not real because WWE never does anything like that and never actually lets someone leave on the right foot. So in hindsight, yes, the booking, and the storylines that they wanted Moxley to do with Vince in particular were shit, right? And a lot of it is just laughable, even looking back on it. The gas mask that he was involved in and things like that.
Oh, that was bad. That
Yeah,
was very
terrible.
bad.
Terrible.
They were trying to ruin him.
Sure, but it's like this is what
They even
that's
changed
what
his intro
5
music. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
That
what,
was so bad.
like 5 years ago now? Moxley has been AEW champion, what, 2 times? At least? He's lived his dream in New Japan, he's fought all the wrestlers he wanted to, like, why is he so angry? Like, that would be my main disconnect with this. As much as I was trying to make sense and advocate for it earlier, I think if they are going to be bringing Shane in, it has to be kind of somehow related to this. If not, then they need to do something soon. And I think it just really depends on what role they're bringing Shane in as. If he's just a behind the scene guy, then we don't need to know anything. Like, you can obviously you're going to want to promote that in a way, so you can literally just have him, like, you can have Tony Khan make a special announcement type thing, right? And then have Shane come out if you want that shock value of having a McMahon on AEW television. If that's the only, and if Shane has no interest in being an on-screen character or doing anything like that, that's the extent that I would do that. If he's just there solely to be a businessman behind the scenes, have him come out, maybe sign a fake contract on there, have the shock value of Tony Khan with Shane McMahon on an AEW stage and an AEW arena type thing. Let that go out there to all the media outlets, do that thing. But if he's going to be brought in and an on-screen character, I'm still going to jokingly go back to he's got to have a match with Darby Allin. That's just got to be a thing. But I think seriously though, it almost has to be tied into this Jon Moxley thing. But again, I don't know why Moxley would be so pissed off, and that's my first question.
Yeah.
And my main tied together with how, if Shane's going to be brought in, how do you have him tie into Moxley? You could obviously do the WWE invasion angle, which I think would be kind of cheap, but it could be interesting depending on
Very cheap.
how they do it. Because I was a fan, and I will be the only one out there. I was a fan of the invasion angle way back when. It definitely left a lot on the table, and they were limited because they didn't have certain stars. But I thought it was
Yeah.
fun.
That invasion angle could have been so great.
It could have been so much
had
better.
The superstars
So much
that
better. Yeah, but I think it's a little early. I kind of want to see, as much as I was saying, I'm not really intrigued. I would want more information before I really know how to predict Shane would be coming in, because it's just like, you don't want him to come in and just be a cookie cutter on screen authority figure. Like, that's boring. So if you're going to be bringing him in, you have to have him come in with an impact. And I think it's very interesting that they did that trademark for that shockwave, because it would be a shockwave through the system, So I more and more signs are leaning to Shane showing up. But I think you need to flesh out with Moxley first.
How does it affect the EVP angle too? Think about
Well, that's
that.
what I was saying earlier. That's
so
why
now all of a sudden you have.
I feel like
Tony
that's why they
Khan.
squashed that. I feel like that's why they squashed that. I feel like originally, kind of like hindsight is 2020 thing, maybe when they're originally going with, because if you think about it, this all started with the whole CM Punk footage and the All In footage and them airing that. They aired that, then Jack Perry came back because he's the scapegoat. Then he punched Tony Khan in the gut with the mic. Terrible sell job. And everything just went off from there. He joined the Elite, all this stuff. They went to the Blood and Guts match, which is fucking atrocious because there was no reasoning for the match, no stakes for AEW or either side. So that happened. And then it's just kind of been, and then Christopher Daniels was an on-air authority figure for the week or two that Tony Khan wasn't there. We randomly got Tony Khan dropping off Jack Perry with a flamethrower back. So in a way, they kind of tied that.
Do you hear what you're saying?
That.
It sounds so crazy.
It's like Borderlands type shit. So,
oh my God.
I really think that somewhere along the line, they probably got word that it's a real strong possibility that Shane could actually be coming in. And what better way to send a shockwave than to have a McMahon jumping ship and coming through and taking over AEW. So I think that's probably why they did put that on the back end, essentially. And Mox went away for a bit. Mox came back. He's like, this isn't your company anymore. And I think it's going to build and build and build. And then the World's End pay-per-view, just name fitting is pretty
Yeah.
much lining up there. It's the end of the year. I don't know. But I think looking, forward, Grand Slam is with New York. That would make more sense because World's End selfishly is in Orlando. So that'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Are you
But
going to that?
yeah, it's like
Nice.
20 minutes from here. So it would make sense with really ending the year with a bang and starting the new year off with a shockwave. I think it would be a nice little play and pun with all their new words there. But I think it would just really depend on what kind of deal you have with Shane. And I think some people are saying, oh, there's no chance in hell, pun intended there, that Shane would ever come in. And the moment we saw that picture, I was like, oh, he's going to be involved at some point.
Yeah.
At some point.
I agree. Isn't it crazy that AEW with Tony Khan does a lot of things that WCW did? So when you watch the failure of WCW and watch all the gimmicks they did that led to their demise, AEW is doing the same exact gimmicks, whether it's matches, whether it's promos, whether it's angles. It's sad to watch. It's like it's so predictable with Tony Khan where it's like, all right, put the angle where invasion angle. Cool.
And
We've
I
seen
think
that.
I still think it could be interesting though. I think it all depends on the layout, and what concerns
But
me
they
is just
haven't
the
done
judgment.
the layout. They haven't done it
But
in a
they
way
have
where
time though. They have time. I honestly don't think Shane would be making an appearance at Grand Slam. I think that's probably a little too soon.
you think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is 3-ish weeks out from now.
So you want John Moxley for the next 2 months to go on continuously.
We need something though. We need something. If we're gonna get a true substance and a true foundation for why Shane would be coming in 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, then okay, cool. But I don't. This is a company that doesn't even build to their pay-per-views that they know are happening months out in advance. So why would I give them hope that they're gonna handle a major happening with care in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time? And this is a situation where they can't just bank off the fact of having a McMahon coming in and the publicity. They need to capitalize on it before it even happens. They need to, we know we're going to get hype when Shane comes in. We know that buzz is going to be going for at least the minimum the next week or two. So we need to capitalize on that and know what we're doing with Shane. Because if not, then why are you even bringing him in? Just besides the fact that you have a name and you're going to put him backstage. Then what else are you doing? So,
but also they're suffering viewership wise and watching on TV. So it's like, all right, it's the end of the year. Do they need to capitalize on having a big pay-per-view, which is the next pay-per-view, having somebody come in to boost up the numbers? So if I'm a WWE fan that only watches WWE, I all of a sudden hear on Wednesday, Dynamite, Shane McMahon's going to show up. I'm going to watch that. Ratings boost.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. At the end of the year, they have to do that. They would have to do that business-wise.
And also, what bigger fuck you to WWE making their debut on Netflix than to have Shane McMahon on the competition on a completely different channel being, hey guys, you remember back in the day? Like, I now own, all that shit. So,
good point.
What bigger fuck you?
And that happens in January. That happens in January, right?
I don't know the official date for Netflix in January,
I think it's like January, like 7. It's first Monday in January. Yeah.
Yeah, because WWE is going to load it up with Cena, probably The Rock, and all that shit because they're going to be in the WrestleMania season.
That's what I'm saying. It's 3 months away. 3 months away from what you're saying. AEW
Look, man, I'm not saying it makes sense, and I'm not saying it's going to be good or anything like that. But if I had to choose between them doing something in 3 weeks or something in 3 months, I would hope and choose the 3 months because these people, I almost feel like when they have more time, it's almost a little bit better because then it's almost like that kid that knows they have a book project that's due in 2 months and they wait to read the book until like a week prior, and they don't even end up
That's
reading the
me.
book because they're like, "Oh, I'll cram it in," and they
Yep.
get that, what was it called, the Spark Notes or whatever. They get that like that shorter
That's
version of
literally
it.
my entire
Yeah,
life.
that's what. Yeah, and it works. And look at you, you're thriving. What did you call you, Bear?
Trying.
You're thriving out there,
Right.
Bear.
There you go.
So you're doing
Shout
great.
out Rewind 89.
Yeah, right. So you're doing great. So I view that as AEW. I view them as almost the company where, and you, I guess you're validating your point. I could see them doing it at Grand Slam, but again, I almost don't see them doing it because I don't see them wanting to do anything drastic with Brian. And I think they want Brian to be the champion for the duration of this year. And I think that also will lead you to World's End. Now, I know they have a pay-per-view prior. I think it's Wrestle Dream in Washington, I think. But I don't think that you necessarily need to have Brian like retire there. I think that's too obvious. Maybe they will and just go with
Maybe they
the
will.
obvious nature of
Yeah,
it. But
you're thinking too
I don't know.
sensible of
Yeah.
yeah. If it's in Washington, it's like either he's not gonna win the title because it's like, all right, what does that do? He'll be the main event. Yeah, losing the title at that point would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
not in professional wrestling terms, but as how they run their company, it's like that's exactly what would happen. He'll lose that title. When is that? Is that this
World's End.
calendar year? No,
Yeah.
yeah, World's End in Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's actually in, or no, Wrestle Dream. Wrestle Dream, I think is let me see.
I could definitely see him
October
losing the
12th. October
so
12th.
4 days after the same week as Bad Blood. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Daniel Bryan is not going to hold that title for more than 3 or 4 months. He's held the title just to boost ratings, just to
Boost ratings.
yeah.
And well, so you have
and
Grand
also
Slam.
to give him the title too, because that's what he
Yeah.
wanted.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not even saying that was a bad move. Him getting the title to begin with. I don't know. I think that probably should have happened like a year ago. But I mean, Grand Slam. So Grand Slam is September 25th. So we're saying 3 weeks from now, you could possibly have Shane debut there. Set all this into motion. All the fuckery that you're gonna do with Brian between now and Wrestle Dream, which is less than a month at that point from then to Wrestle Dream. So I mean, because Wrestle Dream is October 12th, so it's less than a month.
Yeah, I'm gonna say on record, Shane McMahon comes back, Grand Slam, New York, creates a spark, and then that story continues into Daniel Bryan losing in Seattle. I think that's gonna happen. That's put it on the podcast. It's recorded. I think that's what's gonna happen. Is AEW is not going to be able to create this much buzz for too long. Shane McMahon comes back Grand Slam, and then the next pay-per-view is when Daniel Bryan loses.
This is for Rewind. Anytime, any place.
Sorry about that,
Oh
guys.
my God.
But that's my genuine opinion. I think the Shane McMahon angle, if it's a real angle, it's not going to last too long. It's not.
Well, and
they don't have it
my
in them
fear.
to make it longer.
That's my fear. That's my fear. I don't know. Because and I think that's why I was saying almost you need to give Moxley more time. But and yeah, at the same token too, it's almost like
Time for
and that's
what? Time for
to
create
explain
bad
why the fuck
promos.
we're doing this though.
He's
Like why
he's
are we
not
doing
explaining anything. He's not talking. His promo, even to begin it, it was like it's not
But
your
he
company
wants
anymore.
Darby. But he
And then he
wants
goes,
Darby. Darby and I think another point though too is Darby is
forgot that
facing
angle,
Bryan
too.
Danielson. Bryan is facing Darby Allin at Grand Slam. Now Moxley suffocates Bryan. Why has he been wanting to talk to Darby this entire time? It's another thing too. So,
hey guys, I'm on record here. Now that I have a microphone, a lot of AEW's predominant athletes, Darby Allin, Daniel Garcia, who else? Jack Perry. They are the least like I said, least intimidating humans of all time. If they walk into your house and threaten you, you're not going to fear them walking in your house. Meanwhile, the other company, WWE, CM Punk, we talked about this. CM Punk looks bigger, stronger, healthier. Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes,
Dude.
Solo Sikoa, even the people in the bloodline that there's every main event star in WWE looks, if they walk through into your household immediately, you fear them.
Mm-hmm.
If the EVPs and Jack Perry walk into your house, what the fuck
like,
is
"Oh, you
going
lost,
on
bro?"
here? Yeah, like you're gonna exactly.
Can you make
It's
a phone
like
call?
you're at least gonna be like, "What? Hey, are you confused?" You're not gonna
Yeah.
be fearful of them, and that's what I'm talking about. It's like AEW is letting the wrong guys dictate this company, and that's bad.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, we joked earlier that we've gone 3 hours before, and we're approaching that time frame there. Sean says the main question is, will people even boo Mox? I think they will. Oh, well, against Brian, I think they will. And I mean, but that's the thing too. Like, people were already. I don't
They're
know
not
how.
even booing him. They're not saying anything.
And it
They're
was about to
quiet.
say they were chanting, "This is murder." So they already. I don't know. It's just. It's one of those things where it's like, if in the kind of perception I got off of them chanting "This is murder" is them being like, "What the fuck? This is insane. Like, this is stupid. Like, this is murder. Like, this isn't even real in the wrestling world. Real, right? This is
Imagine you being in person and watching it, going, "Wait, what do I have to chant? I don't have a chant for this." It's like you're literally murdering somebody in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Keep the comments. Yeah, keep the comments at the end of the episode. Why not?
Yeah. And then Joseph also says, this is Moxley's statement. He says, quote, "It's going to take some time for everybody to wrap their brains around this, but we're going to get started now. This is not your company anymore." And I think that first sentence, "some time for everybody to wrap their brains around this," because it is gonna that first initial sight of seeing Shane come in is gonna be shocking.
Yeah.
I guess you could also take this in a different, more edgier route and have him in now seeing where Moxley is going physicality wise. I hope it's not him saying it's going to take some time for everybody to wrap their brains around this, but this is not your company anymore. Being like Tony Khan, like, this shit is everything's about to be like the unsanctioned type feel, and I will not be a fan of that at all if this goes a GCW route.
Did you know John Moxley took that quote from a movie?
Yeah, it was like some Nazi movie or some shit.
Yeah, it's from a movie. Yeah, so that quote, it's the original quote was whatever. It was "This is not your country anymore," is the quote, and he took it as "This is not your company anymore." So
yeah.
It's just like, listen, to end it, and I know we went long. I want AEW to do well. I'm rooting for it. They are not putting on women's wrestling, men's wrestling, promos, storylines that is capturing the audience that they already have us. We're going to watch it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to capture other people. They're not capturing that. And that's what's sad about the whole situation is they're not feeding the audience of what they want to bring in. That's why the numbers are going down. That's why All In's going down, Grand Slam's going down. You're seeing it every single week, every single month.
Yeah.
And the people in the comments are I mean, it's been a few, but everybody in the comments have been agreeing what we're saying. We're not being negative. We're not being over the top. Every single person, as we've shown in the comments, had been agreeing with us because we're not talking in a negative light. It just, we're seeing the product and it's not good.
Yeah. Someone had even mentioned earlier they appreciate that we weren't being negative just to be negative. So I appreciate that as well. But then Sean says he'll listen to the whole show tomorrow. He agrees with you. We all want them to succeed. Just tell better stories and no more chair shots to the head.
I'm a star right now. I appreciate everybody that commented. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Sean,
I'm having a great week. Thank you guys.
Yeah, Sean says, and Sean is a great guy. So Sean's, he's like one of the top supporters, man. So great people.
Nice.
Hell yeah, so
Sean.
yeah, man. Yeah, and he says maybe a triple threat sometime. So yeah, maybe when we actually have something planned, because like I said earlier, Sean, you probably didn't hear, but this was very last minute, very impromptu.
Yeah.
But yeah, and all the people in the chat, Joseph, Fearfully Confident, our good friend Rewind89, or your friend, more so, Elvis, new friend, follower, all that good stuff.
The comments are coming and coming and coming. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, I'm just seeing anything else here. Yeah.
Hey, listen, if we got to go 3 hours, that's people are listening and watching. So all the people like Joseph, like Fearfully, and like Rewind, they've been locked in since hour one. So
yeah. So facts, and shout out to you guys again, because like I said, this was very last minute. So yeah, and Fearfully Confident says they did a wide shot before the chair, so she couldn't see how sanded down the chair was. Yeah, and that's fine, but I'm still not a fan of it. I'm not here for it. Got the sub because of you, Rewind. Oh gosh, but yeah, so thank you, Elvis, everyone in the chat. I so much appreciate you guys. I will be editing this down definitely not tonight. Do it tomorrow after my real job. So sometime tomorrow evening I'll edit this down. It just make easier clips for people, but the full thing will definitely obviously be up there. You want to go back and view
send it to a friend. Send it to a friend that will like wrestling and all of our opinions, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, like I always say, I love when people disagree with me because it makes me think, and it's just it's easy when people agree with you because it's just like, okay, the conversation's done. But if not, we can converse, and I'll think of shit that I didn't think of. I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a very good point. We'll just end it on a positive note before he made yeah. There you go. Maybe need to do a muscle tee next time.
Hey, Rewind 89. Enter the lab. We're gonna put a podcast out tomorrow night on Monday night. So tune in. I would love to have you interact with us.
Are you going live tomorrow, or is it when you guys? Okay.
Yeah, we'll be live tomorrow night. Monday night. Right. 7:30, 8 o'clock. Well, if you follow us, you'll get a notification.
Yeah, and then last one, Dingle. If and when Shane debuts in AEW, that needs to be the restart for Tony and AEW to get back on track and get off this dry low period. And I think it will. I think it'll literally be a shock in their system, and I think it'll be the wake up that they need, for sure.
Any other questions?
I don't think so. I think
I'm skipping past
I got it.
The good things past me. You know what I mean? Anything that involves Elvis, I'm like trying to skip, but.
No.
The Shane questions are like big, where it's like, hey, create a better story. Once you know that Shane's going to be involved with the company, create a better story, create a better intriguing situation where Moxley. It'd probably be better if this Shane story started now, where Moxley turned on Danielson. Bryant, whatever his name is, and then it continues on where it's like kind of confusing for the last couple weeks. Keep that interested in a pay-per-view. So I think they missed an opportunity to take advantage on the pay-per-view now and then have a story to tell in New York with Grand Slam. I think they missed out on the opportunity. I think they jumped the gun.
Yeah. We'll see, man. We will see. But we will wrap up there. Thank you so much for your time, Elvis. Any final plugs before we log off here?
Nope. Enter the lab. We'll be live tomorrow on YouTube. So subscribe to us. Appreciate you guys. This great episode. Appreciate everybody for
Definitely
interacting. It's been great. I've had a great time.
And rewind, never too thirsty. Never too thirsty. But no, thank you guys. Love you, Bree. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Ray or Elvis. I'm sorry. Thank you, Elvis. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Bree, for allowing him. And yeah, man, I can't wait to be back on. I can't wait to see how this crazy shit unfolds. There you go. There's the hip swivel. Yeah, there you go. Just for Big Bear.
Rick Rude.
And Big Bear. Yeah, look at you, Big Bear. But yes, thank you as always, and I think it's a good place to end it here before you possibly end up divorced or may not wake
Yeah,
up
right.
tomorrow.
What's happening?
But yes, thank you guys so much, and until next time, my friends, take care.